of 30.
Worldview Update, bringing you closer to international or global news.
Let's focus on an aspect of Chinese governance policy, monetary policy, something that we hardly ever really talk about. We talk about the Chinese economy, but not their monetary policy. Well, as the U.S. Federal Reserve gears up for a potential rate cut, China's central bank, the People's Bank of China, PBOC, finds itself in a challenging policy bind. While China's slowing economy calls for more stimulus, fears of inflating an already buoyant stock market are forcing policymakers to tread cautiously. With rates already near historic lows, the PBOC is unlikely to mirror the Fed's actions immediately as broader U.S. China trade tensions loom in the background. Let's make sense of everything I've just said. I'm joined by Professor David Munyaye, the director for the Center for Africa-China Studies at the University of Johannesburg. Prof, good morning and thank you for your time. What do we know about Chinese monetary policy and how it is controlled and determined? I imagine that it works pretty much like everything else, every area of policy, in China. But just explain it to us how it works and why we have these expectations that we have at the moment that, the PBOC is unlikely to immediately follow suit in terms of cutting rates.
I think the way it is structured, it doesn't operate in the manner in which most are Western. At the policy level, there are a number of structures that are involved in putting together all factors that warrant change in rate cuts. And as it stands, both the party and government, they operate in a way that they focus what they do with a major meeting that normally takes place in the beginning of the year in terms of reading the environment with policies coming from both local, provincial and national, but at the highest level with very high technical people. And they have been managing this economy for a while excellently, reading the weather, what's happening, the trade issues, global geopolitics, all sectors, unemployment, like all other reserve banks.
So in terms of the Chinese economy, what is the PBOC dealing with, as an instrument that is perhaps available to the government of China to stimulate the economy, that they could tinker with monetary policy? But what is the objective environment in terms of the economy as well as issues to do with inflation in that economy?
I think at the moment, I think the core issue is the change of the entire economy. They have what they call the dual circulation, in which with the global financial crisis and what's happening regionally and globally, I think the thinking within China is that China economy should be able to sustain in any way, they expected what is happening now with the tariffs and all what is happening, to be able to sustain more consumption within the country, depending on direct foreign investments, but however, the domestic market in itself expanding with a very large middle class that is expanding. However, the global financial crisis is affecting China as much as all other economies, particularly among the youth. And therefore, there are a lot of adjustments that are being made as we go. But the tariffs themselves have had a huge negative impact.
And one feature that we've been talking about for quite some time on this show has been this issue of deflation within the Chinese economy, something that is different from what many reserve banks and central banks are dealing with in the case of, for instance, South Africa and others, trying to maintain and control inflation. But with China, the situation is the opposite. They're dealing with deflation.
Oh, indeed. And I think there's so many tools at their disposal. As we always say, the Chinese have had enough time with the first Trump administration and the threats flowing right straight to the extension of these tariffs by the Biden administration up to now. So as the economy slows down, from 10 or 7 up to now, up to 5, I think you see adjustments being made in terms of staying the course, but opening new areas of technology, particularly technology. These are new areas that are expanding in other areas, of which other economies do not have that room.
All right, let's leave it there for this morning. I've got to thank you. Professor David Munyai is the director of the Center for Africa-China Studies at the University of Johannesburg.
This is SAFM Sport with Zai Khan.
Hey, Zai, I can't sing, but there's a song that says, Habatabile Pirates they win. Babina Bari, happy people. The happy people are happy.
Yeah. I was thinking about the MTN logo. Everywhere you go,
yes,
there's a pirate supporter. But yes, I get it, Thulas. You know what? This team doing it again, clinching the MTN title, a record 4th consecutive year. They outclassed Stellenbosch 3-0 in Mbombela. Coach Abdusalam Wadu hailing his team's fighting spirit, dedicating the win to the supporters and to those facing challenges within the club, including the injured captain Tapela Tkoki. Now, Pirates' depth and resilience shone throughout, and they sealed that piece of silverware. The result cements Pirates' dominance in the knockout competition. Meanwhile, Mamelodi Sundowns claimed a 3-0 victory over 10-man Magesi FC in the Betway Premiership at the Lucas Moripe Stadium in Atteridgeville. As a result, Masandawana climbed to the top of the league standings, a point above second place Sekhukhune United, who have a game in hand. Here's coach Miguel Cardoso.
With a very strong start of match, but it was not exactly that we saw. We saw control, but we didn't see the levels of connection between the players as we would like to see. It was clear some mistakes on positional game. We corrected that at halftime, and it was obvious that we brought new fluidity in the match in the beginning of second half.
Elsewhere, Liverpool again needed stoppage time to secure a 1-0 victory against Burnley. And in the meantime, Erling Haaland scored twice as Manchester City got back on track with a 3-0 derby win over Manchester United at the Etihad. Athletics /Civil won Jamaica's first men's world 100-meter title in 10 years after outpacing Kishan Thompson and the defending champion Noah Lyles for gold in Tokyo. South Africa's Akani Simbine finishing 7th, while the national champion Gift Leotlela crossed the line in 5th. And in the women's race, the American Melissa Jefferson Wooden capped a dominant season, winning the women's 100 meters. Tina Clayton confirmed her place at the front of a new generation of Jamaican sprinters by taking silver, while bronze went to Olympic champion Julian Alfred. And finally, boxing news, former world champion Ricky Hatton has died at the age of 46. Nicknamed the Hitman, he won world titles at light welterweight and welterweight and was one of Britain's most popular fighters. His body was found at his home in Manchester, and that was yesterday. That's your sport. We'll be back in the ring. Top of the hour. I'm Zai Khan.
Good morning, I'm Anne Musa. In the headlines, ANC President Cyril Ramaphosa will this morning introduce the Service Delivery Action Plan to thousands of his party's councillors at the FNB Stadium south of Johannesburg. The plan seeks to find solutions to widespread service delivery failures in the country's 257 municipalities. 2 people have been shot dead and 3 others injured in a mass shooting incident at the Europe Informal Settlement in Gugulethu on the Cape Flats last night. And US President Donald Trump says Israel needs to be very careful before they attack Qatar again. I'll have details on these and other stories at 7.
SAFM guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good morning. This in from the Eastern Cape. It will hold you up this morning. Protesting. It looks like protesting. Just waiting for this to be confirmed. But messages were that from the motorists and truckers say it looks like protesting. It's north of Mtatum. Tsolo is currently blocked off. So just be aware of that disruption this morning again on that section of the N2 highway. Pretoria, a crash on the mighty Mopani Highway just past Roslyn Road. So some early morning delays there. Maloto Road and Sefaga Makato, that's all backed up. Not unusual early on a Monday morning to see that so busy. Joburg, heavy pressure coming in from the south. It's a high volume route these days. Plus a little operation inside Deepcliff interchange. So the N1 from the N12 Potch Highway all the way out through Devlin and down through Deepcliff towards Uncle Charlie's really backed up heavily. And the N17, the roadworks are back westbound, Joburg bound at Rondebolt Road. So coming in from Brakpan and Springs. There's a really substantial build up of traffic as you funnel into a single lane as well. Durban looks fairly standard, nothing that sort of leaps off the page. There is an overnight closure from tomorrow of the N3 between Spaghetti Junction and Pavilion. We'll remind you about that a little bit later. And Cape Town protesting on the Ford Trekker Road in Kensington, causing major delays. As you can imagine, it's a really busy route. Links Elsie's and Goodwood through to Maitland. Ford Trekker Road closed because of protesting at Kensington between 18th Avenue and Jakes Kerville. So a lot of pressure on Ford Trekker Road coming in from Goodwood, and traffic build up substantially on the N7 Jakes Kerville into that Ford Trekker junction as well. Highways are busy this morning, particularly the N2 inbound, sitting currently from Spine Road at Khayelitsha all the way through to about the airport exit. With your traffic updates, I'm Rob Byrne.
The Business Update on SAFM.
Let's say good morning to Ndauleng Lechela for the first update of the week. Ndauleng, let's start with a story that's thematic with the conversation we just had with Professor David Munyai a few minutes ago. Tell me about the indicators and signs, vital signs out of the Chinese economy. That's not looking great by Chinese standards, is it?
That's right, Thulas. They really are pointing to a slowdown. Let's get right into it. Retail sales growth decelerated to 3.4% below the anticipated 3.9% increase last month. Industrial output also experienced a slowdown, growing at 5.2%, down from 5.7% in July. And fixed asset investment took a dip, expanding only 0.5% year to date, well below the forecasted 1.4% growth. The retail estate sector that has continued to face challenges saw investment declining nearly 13% in the first 8 months of the year. The urban unemployment rate edged higher, up to 5.3% in August. Now, as the data rolls in, the National Bureau of Statistics emphasized the need for proactive measures to stabilize the economy, citing uncertainties in the external environment and multiple risks to national economic development. The Bureau has also suggested that to address these challenges, government has to implement macro policies, maintain employment and market stability, and promote reform. There's also been major calls from different stakeholders for the central bank to continue to support the economy. We have seen a bit of a pause, a wait and see approach from the People's Bank of China, but of course those calls coming in for the central bank to support the economy. Now, this all coming as China and US officials gear up for day 2 of trade talks in Spain. US trade policies, of course, have already had a huge impact on the economy, weighing on exports and investments coming into the country.
So let's talk company news. Nestle shareholders have seen enough of the revolving door of chief executive officers, and they now want that door to revolve just one more time to exit the chairman.
Yeah, they believe that the chairman is actually just really responsible for what we've been seeing on an executive level. Investors are calling for Chairman Paul Bulk to step down due to concerns over governance following the departure of a second CEO in just over a year. The dismissal, of course, of former CEO Laurent Frixie, who was let go for failing to disclose a romantic relationship with a subordinate, has raised questions about Bulk's leadership. Despite Bulk's planned departure in April next year, investors are increasingly uneasy about his continued leadership. Bulk has been chair of the board since April 2017 and has been at Nestle for nearly 50 years, serving as CEO between 2008 and 2016. But support for him has waned due to doubts about Nestle's post-pandemic recovery, with sales volumes flagging in 2023 as the company increased prices to offset rising raw material costs. Now, in April of this year, Bulk was re-elected with 84.8% of the vote, a drop from the nearly 96% he had received in 2017. Nestle has confirmed that Pablo Isla, the current vice chairman, will succeed Bulk as a chairman after the company's AGM meeting next year. The company says the early announcement, however, will allow for a structured, or rather the early departure of Bulk will allow for a structured and orderly transition.
It's obviously more nuanced than that when Ndauling, but I'm just thinking that it is the former CEO who had a romantic relationship with a subordinate that wasn't disclosed. Now the chairman must go. It's more nuanced than that. I do admit that. All right, let's check on the markets. Recap how we closed on Friday and how we've opened in Asia.
So reflecting on how markets closed last week, trade mixed in the US, with the Nasdaq, the only index in the green, ending 0.4% higher. Traders are weighing up those Fed rate cut bets, but there are still stagflation risks weighing on sentiment. And then coming back home, stocks in positive territory, hitting another record high, with the all share closing 0.5% higher. And this, of course, boosted by higher metals prices, and that really pushing up the JSE last week. The rand also stronger this morning, trading near a one-year high as investors bet on a dovish Fed. It's sitting at 17.38 to the greenback. And then looking at oil markets, Brent making gains and shrugging off oversupply worries. Oil trading close to $67 per barrel. Over in Asia, stocks mixed this morning. Investors gearing up for an expected interest rate cut by the Fed, while also eyeing those talks between China and the US.
Right, you've heard from Dowling, so that means your money is on the move and your week has well and truly started. She'll be back with more insights for you just after 7:30.
My name is Thulasizwe. I'm a football coach and also a SABC Sport football analyst. Besides football events, what do I like attending? It's got to be definitely seminars, workshops. If I was not coaching football, tough one, but I'll consider coaching athletics. My favorite African song, I'll definitely go for Shosholoza because of its historical significance. What I like about SABC Sport, it's got to be the SABC Sport Extra show because it's very brief. It allows viewers who have busy lifestyles to catch up about the latest sports.
Catch the top-class football analysis of the beautiful game on match days with Thabo, Bookworm Sinong, live on Latuma. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
This year, the Standard Bank Joy of Jazz Festival presents 3 unforgettable days deep in the heart and art of jazz. From the 26th, 27th and 28th September, Umo Sangare, Ababemu, Jasmia Horn, Silent Ngo, and the Noisemakers, Naj Ponk Trio, Michelle Ndegeyochelo, Velemsini, Gabi Motuba, and 50 world-class acts will be ready to welcome you and yours to 4 magnificent stages of the Sandton Convention Center. Take me there. Buy your tickets at Ticketmaster now.
Africa Update on SAFM.
For that, let's turn to Sipho Mantula. Raz, good morning. Let's start in Malawi. 24 hours. There's a state of readiness that you want to, touch base with us about that state of readiness and electoral observer missions descending on Malawi.
Refreshing morning to that and Jumbo Africa to the listeners. Thulas, indeed, when we look at the state, at the state of readiness for Malawi this 2025, we looked at the Malawi Electoral Commission chairperson and the High Court Judge, Annabelle Mtalimanja. This is the woman, Tula, that we'll be looking at in the coming days as the chairperson of the Electoral Commission, who has confirmed that all ballot papers have been successfully delivered from its warehouse to all 229 constituency tallying centers, marking a major milestone in the preparations for the polls. Also, to us, what is interesting, the High Court on Friday allowed that the transmission of the election results will be done electronically, but the final declaration must be on a manual transmission of records from polling stations. The SADC and the EU Thulas have already deployed. I looked at SADC, 80 members are already on the ground. EU Thulas, they don't mince their words. They have taken 110 observers on the ground and 11 analysts who have been there since August the 2nd. So you can see there are high stakes Thulas, as we know that Malawi decides tomorrow. The EU is being led by the former Chief Justice of Seychelles, who will be leading this mission, and for SADC, it's led by the former Deputy Prime Minister of the Kingdom of Eswatini, Themba Masuku, who will be leading the SADC. So we'll be following it up to us as tomorrow Malawi decides.
And the humanitarian crisis in Sudan is, one of the worst calamities that are playing themselves out at the moment. Tell me about the countries that are now putting shoulder to the wheel to try and get some kind of a humanitarian truce that they are hoping will be followed by a permanent ceasefire.
Plus, this is not for the first time. You will recall that in June last year, the UN tried to have a week-long ceasefire in Al-Fashir. But now we see the Quad, they are calling themselves the Quad, the Foreign Affairs Minister of the US, Saudi Arabia, Egypt, and United Arab Emirates, putting a 3-month humanitarian truce in Sudan. And as we have said earlier, they want to have a permanent ceasefire. Both sides, Thulas, have not yet commented from the Sudanese army and from the RSF, the Rapid Support Forces. They have not yet responded on this proposal put by the 4 countries as we know them as the Quad, Thulas. It still says what will be the role also of the AU, Thulas, what will be the role of IGAD, because the Sudan, it is within the Horn of Africa, Thulas. But as we see this Quad, let's hope that the 90-day that they have proposed to both parties, they will agree to. But like I said, no comment so far that came from both sides.
If there's an expression, well, there is an expression, not if, there is an expression that says the wheels of justice grind slowly or turn slowly. But that's not the case in the case of the former DRC president, Joseph Kabila. It's been swift, hasn't it? We even at a point where we're talking about the possibility of a verdict, but for these new delays that have now come in.
Those delays actually on Friday when they came is that there's a new evidence, including a witness testimony, that can link Kabila's bank accounts to the funding of M23. Hence, the lawyers have also asked the charges of treason be reclassified as espionage. Also raising doubt about Kabila's nationality. This is a long-standing debate in Congo, as you will recall, about nationality in the DRC. But the last-minute twist in the war crime trial of Joseph Kabila on Friday was postponed for the 19th of September, and we know nobody knows his current location. His trial is being tried in absentia. Immunity was revoked in May this year, So this is a very interesting trial. As I have said, they are claiming that there's a new evidence by the military tribunal prosecutors that will connect or link Kabila's bank accounts to supporting and funding the M23.
And lastly, Sipho, your historical archive, 15 September 1963. What happened?
This man was born on this day, but he's died because it says 63 or 65. I don't know whether I'll be giving him more age when I say 62. Is it 64? Because we are talking about
in the
soccer
60s.
Player, in the 60s. And we're talking about the player who played for a team that is not mentioned on the archives, and I think it's very important when he was quoted. He said, "This club launched my career. It was the pride of Val. SA football is not the same without Val professionals." So we're talking about Agustina Umthakathi wezindaba Makalakalani, who was born on this day, He played, you recall, for Val professional. He played for Jomo Cosmos, Mamelodi Sundowns, Vets. He's the first player to play in Zurich and also playing with the white soccer boots. It was famous too. I mean, it was not famous too during that time. He was part of the squad that won the 1996 Africa Cup of Nations. And finally, Thulas, that team of Val professional, I want to inform listeners, when you talk about the Nedbank Cup, it started as the Bob Save Super Bowl.
Yeah.
They won that cup in 1994. They went also to represent South Africa in the Mandela Cup in 1995, 30 years ago. A great history when you think of where Agostino, Umthakathi wezindaba. I won't go to Umthakathi wezindaba, but the listeners will know that it was his last peak of his career. There were issues and tissues with Banyana, but let's not go there. Happy birthday to Agostina Magalakalani, the great player and the midfielder Thulas on this day. Asante Sana Thulas, SAFM, leading the conversation and observing the Heritage Month.
Sipho, thank you for that. What a fascinating one there in the historical archive. Sipho Mantula with the Africa Update.
If you're active on social media and love SAFM, we hope you'll take a moment to like or follow our SAFM page on Facebook and Twitter. These are the best places to find all the guest information, conversations, and stories you love from your favorite presenters, along with regular updates from SABC News. And don't forget, you can send your questions to feedback@safm.co.za. SAFM, leading the conversation. Across South Africa, online and on radio. SAFM, let's talk.
So the wearing of isiphandla, a sacred goatskin wristband worn as a sign of ancestral connection, has become a flashpoint for cultural and professional tensions in this country. The debate resurfaced recently when Sekhukhune FC midfielder Thabang Monare was forced off the field during a Betway Premiership match for wearing the traditional wristband, sparking public debate over the boundaries between cultural rights and professional regulations. Let's speak to Professor Haugele Ngubane, a cultural expert. Good morning to you and thank you for your time. Let's just start before we get into the interaction between culture and these standards, some of them set at a global level, the professional codes of behavior and the likes. Let's start with the significance of isiphandla. What is its significance culturally?
Good morning, Thulasizwe. Isiphandla holds a deep spiritual and cultural significance in our society. And it is worn as part of ancestral ritual, typically after a cleansing ceremony, to honor and connect with the ancestors. And the main, it's a symbolic practice which symbolizes protection, guidance, and spiritual bond with one's ancestors, whereby you report your achievement, you plead for any issue that you want to resolve with them. Then you slaughter a goat, mainly it's a goat, or sometimes it depends on the nature of the problem. You might as well slaughter a cow if the problem or the challenge is bigger than a goat. So when you put isiphandla, it's a symbol that you've been through the cleansing ceremony, and it creates that bond between yourself and the ancestor. So it is also a reminder, as a tangible reminder of cultural identity and spiritual obligation. So for those who believe in ancestors' spirits, then they are obligated to wear isiphandla.
So is it an item of religious expression that you can, from time to time, remove from yourself?
No, not really. Once you have put the wristband, you must allow it to fall off naturally. You can't just take it off, because it's like you are breaking the prayer and the connection if you cut it off. But there are alternatives and options, like where there is a dress code, like in workplaces. Some accommodate the wristband by wearing a cloth that will cover the wrist, and also you can use a handkerchief to cover it. But you must allow it to cut off naturally without forcing the process to stop.
And that usually takes a long time, doesn't it?
It does. It does.
So what does this debate then raise? Because I was thinking in my head that had this been a purely South African regulated issue, I think would be in more certain terrain, because we've had occasion on many occasions to deal with these cultural items of cultural and religious expression in the various faiths in South Africa. The difficulty here is that this is a rule by FIFA that says no adornments of that nature on any person anywhere in the world. How difficult is it to navigate those waters, being compliant with the professional standards set elsewhere outside of our context, while also being true to one's religious expression?
You are raising a very important point, Thulasizwe. I think instead of interfering with the process, the player was supposed to excuse himself so that he observed this prayer spirituality with the ancestors. I think that's the only way, because you know that there are regulations and policies like the FIFA, because they feel that Ispanda is unhygienic and also poses threats to other people. It has got a healthcare problem. But now, in this case, maybe the timing of the cleansing ceremony coincided with this match, and the FIFA, as an organization, supposed to be sensitive and accommodate the player in this regard, because this is part of what we are advocating to protect and preserve our cultural belief system. So I think it's important that we try and find an alternative way of accommodating it.
All right. Let's leave it there for this morning. Thank you for your time, Professor Sahugele Ngubane, a cultural expert.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good morning. A couple of incidents we're watching. One is the N17 coming in from Ekurhuleni. Roadworks are back this week, well, at least today, at the Rondebolt exit. Traffic heavy from City Carnival Mall area. So Brakpan Springs through towards Joburg, very heavy. The N1 worth a mention as well. Bad delays from Eldorado Park up through Dipcliffe. Anyone heading up towards Uncle Charlie's is stuck in a serious backlog of traffic. And the other issue we're watching down in Cape Town having a major impact on traffic flow. Trekker Road closed through Kensington, effectively between Jakes Curville Drive, the N7 and 18th Avenue. So Goodwood through to Maitland, that section of Trekker closed. It's causing chaos on Jakes Curville Drive, both ways into Trekker Road, pushing traffic on Jakes Curville slowly up towards the N1 and causing a big bottleneck through Epping as motorists head off on Viking Way down to Jan Smuts as the alternative, or one of the local alternatives, but very heavy in that Goodwood Epping area this morning because of that protesting. Rob Byrne, SAFM Traffic.
So you thought you were building a business? In this economy? Good luck. But day by day, somehow it grew. You became payroll, procurement, PR, and pressure valve. You kept going when the freezer didn't freeze, the bucket didn't budge, and the bank balance barely blinked. What's that saying again? What doesn't kill your business makes it stronger? Or at least it should be that. So you thought you were building a business. You weren't. It was building you. Because this isn't just what you do anymore, it's who you are, and you don't trust just anybody to protect it. Chat to your broker about Old Mutual Insure Business Insurance. Protect what built you. Old Mutual Insure Limited is a licensed FSP and non-life insurer.
SAFM values your views. Be an active citizen.
5 minutes to 7 on this Monday, the Department of Transport has implemented sweeping new regulations for the e-hailing industry, effective the 12th of September 2025. The rules, part of the National Land Transport Amendment Act, require all e-hailing services, e-hailing vehicles, including those operated by Uber and Bolt, to display visible branding, install panic buttons, and comply with strict licensing, and jurisdictional requirements. The aim is to enhance safety, formalize the rapidly growing sector, and address long-standing tensions with the traditional minibus taxi industry. Let's speak to Colin Msibi, the National Transport Department spokesperson. Good morning to you, and thank you for your time this morning. Tell me about these regulations and what you are aiming to achieve with some of them. I've just highlighted one or two of them.
Thanks so much, Thulas, and thanks for having us on your show. Look, I think the spine of the matter is that it stops the e-hailing service to be regarded as a stepchild. For the very long time, it has been regarded as an illegal operator or operations. So basically, the regulations and the act, it basically put it in the mainstream in terms of the public transport system. So what it does, it then introduces the operating license for the e-hailing service operators. So that comes with a lot of responsibility, and part of it is to ensure that we assign the operators to specific areas where they should operate, so that we also protect local operators. But also, secondly, the regulators in the provinces, they will have to work with the cities so that whatever areas they assign are in line with the integrated transport plans of the cities, so that we once again avoid the issues of conflict amongst the various modes of public transportation.
Is this the department kowtowing to the whims of the minibus taxi industry in a sense of as far as jurisdictional restrictions and requirements for e-hailing are concerned?
Look, the issue is that we are putting everybody in their lane. That's basically what we are doing. We're saying let's try and organize the sector accordingly, so that there isn't any clash that somebody who are encroaching into my area. So it is very, very important that the cities need to play their role, so that we know, for instance, which one is the backbone transportation in a specific city. If it is rail, then let's define what e-hailing in that area does, and what sort of numbers we're looking at of the e-hailers that are supposed to be operating in that area. And as well as the minibus taxis, where are they playing their part? So there has to be that interoperability amongst the what you call the modes of public transportation. So hence it is important, I keep on emphasizing this.
Yeah.
It's important that the regulators must work closely with the cities, so that we stop having this destructive competition and the route encroachments and everybody claiming their territory. Because it's really about the turf wars. So this regulation, therefore, it puts everybody at the same level, but also it has to clear out as to who should be operating where, so that we avoid these kind of clashes within cities.
What purpose are you seeking to achieve by insisting that e-hailing vehicles be branded? Won't that just expose them to even more danger, that they are easily identifiable?
Well, all you are saying is that we are moving on the basis that it should be easy for a passenger or a consumer to be able to see which one is the e-hailing car or transportation. Because part of the complaint is that people are being pointed out to vehicles that are operating illegally. So for the public, it should be clear as to which one is the e-hailing, which one is not. Because the moment you go to a wrong vehicle, then the problem starts once again to say there's an illegal operator. Part of the regulations were very clear. Those who are operating illegally, they will face the might of the law. There's stiff fines that needs to be about 100,000 or 2 years in jail. Because we are trying to avoid people who are operating illegally, and hence we are saying brand your vehicle. Once you have an operating license, brand your vehicle so that you are able to be seen. The other issue, which I think is very, very important, is that the issue of apps, they must be registered with the regulators, so that when we request, that this app
is actually recognized by government. It is registered. And there is a picture of the driver. There is also the details of the vehicle.
Mm-hmm.
So that we avoid these fly-by-night apps where people can just go to any other and there to find that these people are operating illegally.
All right. Let's leave it there for this morning. Thank you for your time. Colin Msibi, spokesperson for the National Transport Department. Let's go to N. Musa with the latest news.
Outsurance will go out of their way to try and save you money on your car insurance. If they can't, ask for 500 Rand. Time to switch and save. Call 08600 60,000 today.
In our top stories, Ramaphosa to introduce a service delivery action plan and alleged Soweto serial rapist to appear in court. Good morning. ANC President Cyril Ramaphosa will later this morning introduce the Service Delivery Action Plan to thousands of his party's councillors at the FNB Stadium south of Johannesburg. The plan, adopted by the party's special NEC meeting at the weekend, seeks to find solutions to widespread service delivery failures in the country's 257 municipalities. Ntebo Mukobo has more.
The top brass of the ANC met at the weekend to discuss the state of local government with the sole purpose of addressing the countrywide service delivery challenges. The meeting adopted the Service Delivery Action Plan, which President Ramaphosa said is central to speeding up service delivery and ensuring that the local government works better for the people.
The action plan will set out specific roles for ANC councillors as well as necessary interventions and monthly reporting requirements.
He also said they will ensure that their candidate selection methods for the 2026 local elections produce capable and qualified candidates of impeccable moral standing.
2 people have been shot dead and 3 others injured in a mass shooting incident at the Europe informal settlement in Gugulethu on the Cape Flats. Police spokesperson Wesley Twigg says a man and a woman were shot dead and 2 men and an 18-year-old woman were left wounded last night. Twigg says they found the victims with gunshot wounds to their bodies.
Police members responded to a complaint of a shooting, and upon arrival on the scene, they found the victims with gunshot wounds to their bodies. The adult male and female were declared deceased on the scene by medical personnel, while the other victims were taken to a medical facility for treatment. The motive for the attack forms part of the police investigation. The suspects fled the scene and are yet to be arrested.
In another incident this weekend, 3 people were shot dead and another fatally stabbed in separate incidents in Kraaifontein, bringing the number of people killed in the area to 14 this past week. Mpumalanga police are investigating a murder case after responding to a shooting incident at Mbalenhle in Secunda. Police say upon arrival they discovered the body of a 28-year-old man with gunshot wounds in his upper body. Police say preliminary investigations indicate the shooting followed an altercation between the victim and the suspect, who's reported to be a foreign national owning a spaza shop in the area. A 41-year-old alleged serial rapist is expected to appear at the Protea Magistrates Court in Soweto this morning. The man was arrested in connection with a number of serious crimes, including rape, kidnapping, robbery and assault, which was committed in Diepkloof and Orlando between 2008 and this year. Lerato Makola reports.
It is reported that the 41-year-old man targeted women between the ages of 14 and 55, threatening them with a gun or knife during the attacks. Between 2008 and 2025, 45 cases were reported, 38 of them at SAPS Diepkloof, 5 at Orlando Police Station, and 2 more cases were reported in the Northwest Province.
Further afield, and finally, US President Donald Trump says Israel needs to be very careful before they attack Qatar again. Earlier, the Qatari Prime Minister Sheikh Al-Thani told the international community to stop using double standards and punish Israel for what he called its crimes. Trump was speaking to reporters at an airfield in New Jersey.
They have to do something about Hamas, but Qatar has been a great ally to the United States. A lot of people don't know that. so Israel and everybody else, we have to be careful. When we attack people, we have to be careful.
Recapping the top story, ANC President Cyril Ramaphosa will later this morning introduce the Service Delivery Action Plan to thousands of his party's councillors at the FNB Stadium south of Johannesburg. The plan, adopted by the party's special NEC meeting at the weekend, seeks to find solutions to widespread service delivery failures in the country's 257 municipalities. For SAFM News, I am Anne Musa.
Outsurance will go out of their way to try and save you money on your car insurance. If they can't, ask for 500 Rand. Visit outsurance.co.za today. You always get something out.
You are the poster child, the biggest saver we've ever had.
I decided that I would contact Outsurance and let them work out what they could do for me.
Yeah.
And lo and behold, big saving. 2,794 Rand a month.
That's over 33,000 Rand a year.
And it was the easiest switch ever. Real people helping real people get real deals.
Go to outsurance.co.za now for a 10-minute quote that could save you thousands. Licensed insurer and FSP. T's, C's and information online.
It's a very good morning to you in your SFM sports headlines. Soccer, Mamelodi Sundowns back at the summit of the Premiership, but that victory came at a cost. And we also have athletics, South Africa's sprinters. They came close, but they missed out on the podium at the World Championships in Tokyo. We'll bring you details just before 7:30.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good morning, Joburg. First up, very heavy backlogs coming in from the south. If you drive in from Lenasia, Crossmere, Protea, Glenside, there's a big backlog on the N1 into Deepcliff this morning. Starts around the Golden Highway exit on the N12 Potch Highway. From there through Deadman's Bend, all the way up through Devland and right through Deepcliff Interchange. If you're on your way to Uncle Charlie's using the highway routes, it really is a major backlog and serious delay this morning. N17, Brackpan through to Boksburg being held by roadwork, single lane section there causing chaos. Crash on Pretoria's Mobopani Highway just past Roslyn Road, holding you up out of Roslyn. And there's some queues on the N4 moving into Durhanport Plaza. If you're on your way to the N1, that's a bit of an unusual queue to work through there. Pietermaritzburg through to Durban on the N3 looks okay. The M13 Hillcrest to Kloof doesn't look okay. That's quite heavy. And Cape Town top story is the protest in closing down Voortrekker Road through Kensington. Voortrekker Road closed between 18th Avenue on the Maitland side and the Jakes Kerville N7 junction on the Goodwood side. So that busy route is closed. It's causing chaos around the N7 Voortrekker Road. It's forcing extra traffic up the N7 to the N1, and it's forcing other traffic along Viking Way through to Jansmuts Drive in Epping. So all very heavy backlogs because of that closure of Voortrekker Road. With your traffic updates, I'm Rob Byrne.
The Morning Brief with Thulasizwe Simelane. Weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m. The Morning Brief with Thulasizwe Simelane. Weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m.
9 minutes after 7 on this Monday. It is great to be in your company. We are into the second hour of the Morning Brief here on SAFM 104 to 107 nationwide, but also we are live on our digital platforms, on our YouTube channel, as well as on Facebook and on the platform known as X. Formerly known as Twitter. Feels like saying the artist formerly known as. Anyway, let me tell you what's coming up in this half hour. We'll be talking in the next few minutes to Mark Haywood, just talking about the health system, the public health care system, and the crunch that it faces. The reckoning with years of underinvestment as well as austerity measures, and budget cuts, really. It's almost coming to a head now, a moment of reckoning with the health crisis. We're told about vacancy rates, over 25,000 critical staff vacancies, rising patient numbers and shrinking budgets. All of that confluence coming together. What are its implications for public health delivery in various provinces? Just last week, we were talking about the situation in Gauteng and the outstanding debt from the previous year being carried over and eating into the budget for this year and what the implications are for delivery of services. Mark Haywood on standby to talk to me in the next few minutes. Immediately after that, we move from talking health to talking local government, and we'll be talking about the comments of the ANC and country president Cyril Ramaphosa regarding the role of ANC councillors and deployees in local government. He says in some instances they are quote-unquote absent without leave, AWOL, when the communities are frustrated with issues of service delivery. He says they don't communicate well enough. They don't understand the value of communication and being frank and honest with the citizens about the challenges faced in municipalities. I'll have that conversation with Professor P.S. Reddy from the University of KwaZulu-Natal at about 7:20. In it all, please do call me. The number to dial is 086 000 2032, and you can also send me a WhatsApp voice note or a WhatsApp message, and I'll read it out at some point during the show. The number for that is 0614 104 107. So let's get into it then. The second hour of the Monday edition of the Morning Brief.
If you think you cannot afford a lawyer, think again. Clientele Legal has made professional legal services affordable for you. Whether it's a civil, criminal, or labor-related matter, we have a nationwide panel of attorneys standing by to assist you. SMS SAFM to 32195. That's SAFM to 32195, and we'll call you back. Clientele General is a licensed non-life insurer and an authorized FSP. Standard rates and terms and conditions apply.
I'm Andile Ncube umzilankati siqongo sinoJojo intombi eyazi ngizala ke suka le emzimkhulu egugweni ila ke inkaba yasala khona. Your son got a star on his forehead, brightens your every mood when you get as old as I am. What do I like about Mzansi or love? You know, it's home. Beyond football, I enjoy cricket. You know, or Andile ngesixhosa go Ace Mabheka. You know, my favorite nickname of all time, like Captain Yama 2000. In everything we do, just like the African continent is the beginnings of life, right? Just like women are the beginnings of life. The SABC and SABC Sport is exactly that.
Catch Andile, Captain Yama 2000 Ncube on match days, live on Latuma. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
Thulasizwe Simelane is streaming live now on Facebook, YouTube, and X at SAFM Radio.
13 minutes after 7. The country's public health system is facing a deepening crisis marked by over 25,000 critical staff vacancies, rising patient numbers, shrinking budgets, and mounting debt. Provinces like Gauteng, KwaZulu-Natal, and the Eastern Cape are under severe pressure with overstretched hospitals, postponed surgeries, and an overworked health workforce. Despite growing demands, budget cuts and austerity measures have left provincial health departments unable to recruit enough medical professionals or maintain essential services, which in turn has put millions of patients at risk. Let's speak to Mark Haywood, a prominent South African human rights and social justice activist of many years of standing. Good morning to you, Mark, and thank you for your time.
Good morning.
Between understating the problem that we face and exaggeration, what's the best description you can give to the current country's public healthcare system in light of all the factors I just mentioned?
Well, first of all, I don't think that the way you've described the crisis is an exaggeration. It's an accurate picture of a public healthcare system that is in ICU, that needs very, very urgent attention to save its life, and which, whilst it is in ICU, is in many instances failing the people who need access to public health care, but is also a cause of trauma to the people who continue to work in public health care as doctors and nurses and support and admin staff as they try to manage this burden. So Thulasizwe, you called it a moment of reckoning. This crisis has been emerging for some time, but certainly based upon what I am seeing and reading and hearing from people that I talk to who work in hospitals, that things are coming to a head and we have to intervene.
And I've got some fresh insights in the sense that part of the work I do sometimes takes me to hospitals outside of here. And I just recently witnessed a scene of, just the waiting lines in one of the hospitals in Gauteng. What are the factors that have brought us to this confluence? Is it an issue of more demand and less being built by way of facilities, or is it underinvestment in the human resources, or is it all of the above?
It's all of the above. We have a perfect storm facing hospitals and the health system as a whole. Let me list very quickly 6 factors, several of which you've mentioned. There is rising demand based on rising disease, particularly non-communicable diseases. At the same time, there has been a decade of declining per capita expenditure on the public healthcare system and on our hospitals. What you haven't really stressed enough is that in most instances, hospitals have very, very poor management and administration because they have been places that are opportune for theft, and because they are places where quite often political appointees have been put in rather than people competent of running complex management systems. Linked to that, number 4, there is out-of-control corruption, which takes billions of rand a year out of our public hospitals. You've mentioned the human resource shortages, and the last thing that I would say is the abuse of something called the RWAP system, which means remunerated work outside the public service, which allows public specialists or doctors to do private work, which is understandable in certain instances, but when it's not monitored, is abused, which then compounds the HR crisis. So those are at least 6 of the factors that are feeding into this, and each one of those factors almost needs a different emergency strategy.
Yeah. So let's talk. For instance, the figures cited include the Gauteng public healthcare system recording 19.6 million patient visits in the past year, and that's 1 million more than the previous year. Is there an appreciation of the sense of crisis within the government in the country and the leadership in government? And is that appreciation, if it's there, is it matched by a sense of working with urgency?
Well, the answer to that is yes and no. There's lip service to the sense of crisis. There's certainly an awareness. I sit on a WhatsApp group which has almost all the senior officials in the national and provincial health departments on it, where people lament every single day, doctors lament every single day what's going on. So nobody can say that they don't know it. But is there an appropriate response? No, there certainly isn't. There are only 2 senior officials in the National Health Department who are responsible for hospital services. And at a provincial level, as we're seeing with the SIU investigation into Tembisa, hospitals are often seen as places, as I've already said, where there's a huge amount of money flowing in and flowing out. And so they are very badly administered. And there needs to be attention paid at that particular level. One thing I would say to Thulasizwe is that we have a strong public health service, strongest of any country in Africa, very strong, large infrastructure for public health. If we were to be serious about the solutions and the things that could fix the system, then I believe we could turn things around pretty rapidly. But we're not doing the things that we should be doing if we are committed to the right to healthcare.
Right, let's leave it there for this morning. Thank you for your time. Mark Haywood, a prominent South African human rights and social justice activist, talking to us about the healthcare crisis in the country.
This year, the Standard Bank Joy of Jazz Festival presents 3 unforgettable days deep in the art and heart of jazz. From the 26th, 27th and 28th of September, Umu Sankare, Ababemu, Jasmia Horn, Silent Law and the Noisemakers, Najbonk Trio, Michelle Ndingyojelo, Willem Siini, Gabby Mutuba and over 50 world-class acts will be ready to welcome you and yours to 4 magnificent stages of the Sandton Convention Center. Take me there. Buy your tickets at Ticketmaster now.
Lina like ke Hlompho ke kana, I'm former Mamelodi Sundowns captain. I'm a sports analyst la ko SABC Sport. When I'm home, I try by all means to practice cooking. My favorite home cooked meal, I'll go for pap and masonja because I can prepare that with easy. What do I normally get up to when I get a moment to myself? Where I would easily, play my guitar. I try to practice a lot of Tracy Chapman. My favorite foreign language is French. Bonjour, comment ça va? So if I didn't play beautiful football, I think I was gonna be a baseball player. What do I like about SABC Sport is the fact that we given an opportunity to educate.
Catch the exciting Diski analysis by Hlompho Long Range Kekana on match days live on Latuma. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
Thulasizwe Simelane on SAFM.
It's coming up to 22 minutes after 7. President Cyril Ramaphosa, in his capacity as ANC president, taking aim at the party's councillors and deployees in local government, saying they should shoulder some of the blame for the growing wave of service delivery protests across the country. Speaking at a special ANC National Executive Committee meeting in Boksburg, Ramaphosa accused party representatives of failing to engage with communities, warning that the collapse in communication is fueling public anger, mistrust and instability in municipalities across the country. Let's speak to Professor Purushottam Reddy, a public governance expert from the Graduate School of Business and Leadership at the University of KwaZulu-Natal. Good morning to you, Prof, and thank you for your time. So this diagnosis by President Ramaphosa of what ails local government has, in part, at its heart, issues of communication and being transparent and frank with communities on the part of public representatives. How true a picture and how much of a factor is that in some of the discontent we see?
South Africa became a democratic state on the 27th of April 1994, and since then local government has been devolving and evolving. World-class legislation has been ushered in. However, local government has been failing. And to a large extent, a significant number of municipalities are dysfunctional today, despite the government inter alia introducing interventions over the past few years. And here we're looking at Project Consolidate, Operation Clean Audit, local government turnaround strategy, and the back to basics in local government. President Cyril Ramaphosa is quite correct. There is a lack of communication between local communities and the councillor. Look, there are challenges in local government, financial challenges, technical challenges, service delivery challenges, and so on. But at the end of the day, the councillors have to communicate with the municipalities and tell them these are the issues and how they intend addressing it. By just keeping away from local communities, avoiding them, this is going to create a great deal of frustration and discontent. Now, if you're looking at what has happened in the past two decades, local government has gradually declined to a level of dysfunctionality that can be described as critical, where it cannot even render basic services. Now, there are several reasons for this dysfunctionality, namely the politicization of local government, which included inter alia, cadre deployments, jobs for pals, rigging of tenders, and lack of consequences management. A significant number of municipal functionaries, councillors, and officials elected and appointed are merely there to collect salaries, allowances, and profits. The passion for the task at hand, that is improving service delivery and enhancing the quality of life of the local communities is not there. There is a lack of political and management will in this regards. Many of these municipal functionaries don't have the required technical expertise and leadership to ensure that these municipalities are discharging basic services, and more importantly, are sustainable politically, managerially, and financially, longitudinally. South Africa has world-class legislation, but the implementation or non-implementation of legislation is a challenge and harms good governance. There is a strong legislative and policy framework in place in South Africa to combat corruption and respond to financial mismanagement at local level. However, the lack of firm implementation and decisive action has bedeviled the process.
What's the balance, Prof, if I can quickly just jump in there? What's the balance between responsibility falling on councillors who are political in terms of their pathway to office versus administrative and technical weaknesses, appointing people without the expertise in the administration, and frankly, in some instances, outright incompetent people in the administration? Those are the people that actually need to then do the work.
Yeah, this is a serious challenge. And, the question that we ask ourselves is, what needs to be done to reverse the rocks? Well, there has to be firm and decisive action by the ANC as the lead party in government. A system of meritocracy in employment, in local government and other state sectors has to be introduced. And furthermore, consequence management has to be implemented as a matter of urgency for poor municipal performance and in responding to the scourge of corruption and malfeasance at the local level. In the absence of radical action at this late hour, we are headed towards a failed state. The ball is clearly in the ANC's court. Should it take the radical action desired, it will go a long way towards restoring the confidence of the local electorate in the ANC.
All right,
now,
Prof.
key to this process for the revitalization of local government is strong political and management will by the ANC, which to date has been lacking.
Okay, Prof, let's leave it there for this morning. Thank you for your time. Powerful analysis and reflections there from Professor Peshota Reddy, a public governance expert from the Graduate School of Business and Leadership at the University of KwaZulu-Natal.
This is SAFM Sport with Zai Khan.
Good morning. Let's kick off with Mamelodi Sundowns back at the summit of the Premiership after a 3-0 win over Magesi in Attridgeville. But the victory came at a cost, with star midfielder Themba Zwane picking up a fresh injury. Masandawana played the entire second half with an extra man after Magesi saw red and made full use of the advantage to secure 3 points. But all eyes will now be on the medical report for their skipper. Elsewhere, Orlando Pirates coach Abdusalam Wadu says his philosophy is about building on the legacy of predecessor Jose Rivero rather than making wholesale changes, having now claimed his first silverware with the club, lifting the MTN8 title after defeating Stellenbosch FC. Wadu added he's not getting carried away.
And I'm not speaking like that because we won the trophy, because we still have many games to achieve. But what I'd like to say is, we are going to celebrate, of course. I'm very happy for the boys, but straight away my mind will be in the next game of the Champions League, because it's our life of a coach and we have to focus for the next game, and we have a lot of challenges this season.
Onto athletics, and Oblique Civil won Jamaica's first men's 100-meter title in 10 years, outpacing Kishan Thompson and the defending champion Noah Lyles for gold in Tokyo. South Africa's Nkani Simbine finishing 7th, while the national champion Gift Leotlela crossed the line in 5th. In the women's race, the American Melissa Jefferson Wooden capped a dominant season, winning the women's 100 meters, the fastest time ever run at a World Championships and the fourth quickest of all time. Tina Clayton claimed silver as the bronze went to the Olympic champion Julian Alfred. But here's the American Melissa Jefferson-Wooden.
This year has been nothing short of a dream that I've literally dreamt. I've been working so hard for this very moment to be able to come out here and just focus on my execution. That's literally what I've been doing all year. It's been working for me, and to be able to put together the perfect race at the right time just means so much to me. So I'm just happy and blessed and grateful.
And that's where we'll leave it for now. We're moving fast. We'll be back top of the hour. I'm Sai Khan.
Good morning, I'm Anne Musan. The headlines: ANC Secretary General Fikile Mbalula says the implementation of the Service Delivery Action Plan will be reviewed on a quarterly basis. The plan was adopted at the special ANC NEC meeting at the weekend. Police are questioning two people in connection with shooting incidents at Wallerstein in Kraaifontein in Cape Town this weekend, which have left 3 people dead, another wounded, and also resulted in a woman being raped. And an elephant carer has been killed by an elephant at Hoedspruit Elephant Rehabilitation Development in Limpopo. I'll have details on these and other stories at 8.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Very busy around Pretoria this morning. The N4 is queuing up into Doornpoort Plaza. If you're on your way towards the N1, that's heavy. There's also a breakdown at Linwood Road on the N1 South. That's a stationary truck. So coming from Montana, eventually you hit some traffic queues on your way down through Stormful, the N4, and down towards that Linwood Road exit. Coming in off Ekurhuleni, big traffic on the N12, really, from sort of Snake Road through to Rondebolt Road, the R21 to Jet Park, and Edenvale through to Galuli's. 3 queues. It's a busy run into Joburg coming in from Benoni today, and pretty heavily backed up on the N17 Brakpan through Boksburg due to roadworks, which are catching everyone by surprise. Just a single lane section and some big Monday volumes. Other side of town, if you're in from Crossmere, Eldos, Protea Glen, Lenasia, it's monster traffic today on the N12 Potch Highway through Deadman's Bend, up the N1 very slow through Dipcliff down to Uncle Charlie's. If that's your route through, stay off the highways and look at some of those alternative side roads instead. Durban Hillcrest through Kloof is being held on the M13, heavy to Maytime stores. Once you get past the stores, it moves quite nicely down Fields Hill into Pinetown, but it is heavy getting there. And Cape Town, a major impact around this protest action that erupted early hours this morning on Voortrekker Road through Kensington. Voortrekker Road is fully closed effectively between Maitland and Goodwood. It's closed just on the western side of the N7, so some really heavy pressure. The N7 Jake Scoville queues from Lunga up through that closure at Voortrekker and then on towards the N1. Routes like Viking Way a little bit further south than Voortrekker are heavy with diverting volumes basically between Elsie's River and Pinelands area. With your traffic updates, I'm Rob Byrne.
The business update on SAFM.
Let's turn to Ndauling once again for the second update of the morning. Let's start in construction in Ndauling for this half hour. Tell me about WBHO and this shift that they are talking about in building investment.
So this construction and engineering group noted a shift in investment in building work from Gauteng to Cape Town, citing the political leadership in Gauteng as a major factor contributing to this trend. Interestingly, this also mirrors what CEO of Growthpoint Properties, Norbert Sass, said last week, where he mentioned that there is room for new developments, but in particular regions, pointing to Cape Town. Now, in a MoneyWeb article, the CEO of WBHO, Wolfgang Neff, said the building division in Gauteng is under pressure due to a lack of available work, while Cape Town is absorbing excess resources from Gauteng. Neff noted that the Gauteng division was once 4 times the size of the Cape Town division, but now Cape Town is likely to surpass Johannesburg and Tshwane combined in terms of building work. Neff attributed the difference in investment to, of course, the political leadership and the changes that he's noted on that front. Despite the high demand for building work in Cape Town, margins, however, have not improved due to increased competition. Now, the commentary comes alongside its earnings, where WBHO's order book grew by 23%, supported by growth both in South South Africa and the UK. WHO says it's optimistic about its prospects, citing a strong pipeline of work in the road, energy, and water infrastructure sectors.
In hospitality and tourism, talk to me about City Lodge and the tough trading conditions that they are weathering.
Now, over the interim period, the hotel group reported a decline in occupancy rates from 58% to 56%, with 48,748 room nights taken out of service due to refurbishment work at 8 hotels. Despite this, City Lodge delivered a 2% growth in rooms revenue, supported by a 7% increase in average room rates. This boosted its overall top line, with growth there up 3% to 2 billion rands, driven in part by steady growth in its food and beverage segment, which saw an 8% rise in revenue. That segment now contributes 20% of total revenue, up from 19% in the previous year. Moving ahead, City Lodge is optimistic about the future, expecting an improved operating environment in its 2026 financial year due to a stable environment and interest rate cuts. City Lodge's CEO, Andrew Whittaker, noted that the year has started well, with occupancies up 4 percentage points in July and August, and food and beverages revenue rising by double digits already.
All right, Ndawling, lastly, how are the markets looking at this hour?
Starting in Asia, stocks mostly in the green, but worries about China's growth trajectory and trade talks between Beijing and Washington capped those gains. The Shanghai Composite pretty flat this morning, only up 0.06%. Moving over to Wall Street, futures also flat. We'll probably see stocks move sideways ahead of the Fed rates meeting this week. And then coming back home, stocks were in the green, closing at a record high on Friday, boosted by upbeat metal prices. The all share gained 0.5% in Friday's session. The rand also jumping on the positive bandwagon, trading stronger this morning. It's at 17.36 to the greenback. Over in commodities, oil also faring well, gaining just over 0.5% at $66.90 per barrel.
All right, Ndawling, thank you for that. We'll touch base with you one more time just after 8:30. Look out for that update, because Ndawling will also give you a sense of the kind of trading day you can expect on this Monday.
Lina laka ke Hlompho ke kana, I'm from Mamelodi Sundowns captain. I'm a sports analyst la go SABC Sport. When I'm home, I try by all means to practice cooking. My favorite home cooked meal, I'll go for pap and masonja because I can prepare that with easy. What do I normally get up to when I get a moment to myself? I would easily, play my guitar. I try to practice a lot of Tracy Chapman. My favorite foreign language is French. Bonjour, comment ça va? So if I didn't play beautiful football, I think I was gonna be a baseball player. What do I like about SABC Sport is the fact that we given an opportunity to educate.
Catch the exciting Diski analysis by Hlompho Long Range Gagana on match days live on Latuma. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
Call Thulasizwe now, 086 000 2032.
All right, let me take some of your voice notes as well as some of your calls. Earlier on, we had that conversation about the wearing of ispandla, right? That traditional goat skin wristband that is worn as a sign of ancestral connection. It's raised a bit of a debate because one player from Sekhukhune FC, the midfielder Thabang Monare, was forced off the field during a Betway Premiership match for wearing that traditional wristband because, according to the referee's decision at least, it was in contravention with FIFA's Rule 4, which prohibits the wearing of, items such as jewelry and wrist, wearables and the likes. So some of you wanting to comment on that, just the intersections between those professional rules and the practice of culture in this country.
Morning, Thulas, morning SAFM, Bungane from Eastern Cape. It's Pandla. It's a pity because most Indian people, they wear there is Pandla, the red ribbon or the green ribbon mostly. I don't think someone ever had a problem with that. However, when it comes to us as Africans, many people always have issues with our cultural attire, cultural symbolism, everything. I do not know where that comes from. Thanks to us.
Thank you for that. I wonder how it plays itself out in the context, right? For instance, in India, you make a very good example. I wonder the levels of enforcement of this Rule 4 in other contexts where not just religious wrist, items, adornments, for lack of a better word, other items, wearable items, how it plays itself out in other contexts outside of South Africa, because this is, of course, a FIFA rule. In terms of our own situation, I was saying earlier on that we have come to grapple with these issues over and over again, and I think we're getting kind of a cadence of it all. The principle is reasonable accommodation. You will have the standard rule that says this is not allowed, but because it's about accommodating the cultural and religious expression of people, we've dealt with this issue many, many times. It does still come up from time to time where people will say, this is our uniform and that's it, period. We're not going to accommodate it, and we have a bit of a contention. But whenever it has come before the courts, they've always leaned in favor of reasonable accommodation. This one, the difficulty is that it's a rule set at a global level.
Morning, Thulasizwe. Regarding the culture of different countries in the world when it comes to soccer, I think it's getting biased when it comes to Africans or Black Africans. During the Women's World Cup, we saw the Moroccan ladies wearing those covering face with no problems. But when it comes to our blacks, it's a problem.
Thulas, morning. I think if Thabang Monare had put those wristbands that are usually worn by tennis players to wipe the sweat on of your forehead, the referee might not have seen it. But in terms of FIFA, I mean, wedding rings are allowed, right? They just cover them with some tape. So if wedding rings are allowed, why can't Ispandla be allowed? This is football, like it is not Christian movement football. Right? Some people don't wear, a lot of cultures don't wear rings to symbolize marriage. So it's not make sure.
Yeah, thank you for that. It really is a tricky one. I guess we would all benefit from the insights of someone who perhaps understands the rules of FIFA better, and perhaps with experience of how they are then translated in situ in localities across the globe for countries where football is played. But it's really an interesting debate that it all raises. Let me start with Lala in Polokwane in terms of the calls. Lala, good morning. You have something completely different on your mind this morning. NSFAS.
Good morning, Thulasizwe. The issue with NFS and corruption, the government, I'm not sure if are they not able to see the corruption that is committed by the universities. The universities, they have this thing of giving students money and they don't distribute it, and in the end of the day they say the students are owing. And students, I cannot do anything to check if NSFAS paid or did not pay, because to start with, to access NSFAS is a very difficult process these days. You can send emails for the whole 6 months, no even a single response. You can call every time, they'll tell you that they have problems with their system. I have a niece who was a student at the University of Venda. She struggled for 3 years not having money from NSFAS, and she was depending on the families and the relatives for food and for accommodation. And then even the day when she went to graduate, she could not get the certificate. After we have made a lot of complaint to NSFAS, is then we find that NSFAS paid and the university kept the money.
Wow.
And now the university even refused to give that student the money back. So that is what is happening. What I'm suggesting is NSFAS must be able to issue out the statements to the students, directly to the students. And the university must also do the same, so that the students will be able to see what NSFAS paid and what NSFAS did not pay.
That doesn't happen as far as you understand, Lala. I would
No.
imagine that it does happen. No.
No, it's not. It's not.
Wow.
Since from the time of COVID-19, that stopped.
All right.
No one is receiving the statement directly from NSFAS. We are only receiving the statement from the university. We are not sure if that amount that is reflecting there is what they got from NSFAS for that particular student.
All right, Lala, let's leave it there for this morning. You've put the issue on the agenda, NSFAS, and the inefficiencies and some of the problems that the scheme faces. It's been under the spotlight for several months, and I seem to recall a recent higher education portfolio committee meeting where that issue of NSFAS was put under the spotlight. Jacques in KZN, good morning. You want to talk about e-hailing?
Good morning, Thulasizwe. Thank you to you and your guests and everybody else that put such effort into having such good discussions.
Thank you.
And I think that in itself, just as comment, is why we don't have issues like in America with Charlie Kirk and all that. We can have discussions where we don't agree with each other, whether it's cultural or in terms of ethics or whatever it may be. And I think thanks to you and your show, that at least gives us as the population an outlet to have our say and at least hear our opinion out. So to that, to you and your team, thank you so much for that. It is really a great job and service that you provide to us.
Thank you.
In terms of earlier the e-hailing services, in terms of marking the cars, I think, my personal opinion, I think it's utterly ridiculous to do something like that to the e-hailers, is because if I'm using my vehicle for a private service as well as to earn an income, if I have to be, say, off call or I'm not on duty, if you want to put it that way, and I go to the mall, am I going to get a line of people waiting to see whether I'm actually working or not working? And the taxis themselves don't have that, are not privileged to actually get that done because they fight all the time for taxi routes. So why is the red taxi not going to Soweto and the yellow taxi going to Sandton? So I'm saying it doesn't make any sense. There's two sets of rules here. And like you're saying, exactly, it's the taxi association maybe that has more power or political will to get what they want done instead of us as the people having an option. And just coming from the motor industry, we have something called the right to repair, meaning that we have an option to get anybody to repair the vehicle that's qualified in order to do that. So in terms of that, what are our options in terms of not taking taxis? E-hailing is an option, and we should be, as a people and the citizens, we should be given that option and all right to choose what we want, not for the taxi association to do that as well.
Yeah.
So I think, like I said, thank you so much for this outlet.
Thank you.
And like I said, with us talking, at least we might get a better discussion than having action and violence on it.
All right, Jacques, thank you for that, the value of dialogue. And the point that you make, Jacques, there are routes that are demarcated and dedicated to specific taxi associations. I think that becomes part of the problem when there's a sense that, there's a straying into a route that was not demarcated for your association. It's part of the management of that tension. You see it with various provincial authorities saying, this route is awarded to this taxi association, etc. But it's a good point that you make about the importance of choice in the market. Khotso, goeiemorgen, my brother.
Goeiemorgen, Thulasizwe Simelane. Thulis.
Yes, brother.
I'm so surprised.
Hey.
After a long time, the people of Ditsohot are suffering about the criminals who are occupying municipality, dividing themselves, 2 mayors, 2 MM. Today, Ramaphosa is when he recognized the suffering of the people of Ditsohot. Next year, the very same stupid president, so-called Cyril Ramaphosa, is going to go to the people.
Khotso, hold on. We don't do that on this show. We don't call people stupid. Doesn't matter whether wait. It doesn't matter whether you're the president or the lowest of the lowest. We just don't do that.
Right.
Wait, Khotso. I've said it multiple times. Go for him. Tackle him. Give him not a football tackle, a rugby tackle, in terms of your criticism of the man, but we don't do name calling.
Phrase to call Ramaphosa.
No, we don't. I'm saying we don't do
useless
name
president
calling.
Who don't have even the direction of the leadership. Give us a right.
Sure.
Give us a right phrase to pronounce him, because it's a stupid president who don't have. Look the damage that he's done to the black people.
I'm not debating that, Khotso. Make that point. I'm just saying name calling is not a practice on this show.
But okay, give us look the damage Ramaphosa he did to the black people.
Yes, that's fine. Continue then on that vein.
Give us the phrase that we can
No,
use.
I
We
shouldn't.
can call him.
I shouldn't say. Talk about what ails you and what pains you about the damage you are saying he's causing. I'm saying continue on that vein. You've started, continue. All right, Khotso is gone. Let me go to Sandile in Mzimkhulu. Good morning to you.
Morning, Thulas. How are you?
Very well. How are you?
I'm good. Look, on this issue of Isiphandla, I think the crux of the issue is the interpretation. It's not more about Isiphandla, because earlier on you played a voice note where a person said, Thabang Munare could have put in your sweat wrist armband.
Yes.
Yes. I also believe that even the team manager or Thabang Munare's team let him down, because how did it arrive to the point that the referee picked it up? Because they could have anticipated that this will cause a problem, and they could have negotiated or possibly spoken to the match officials way before the game.
Yeah.
And they encouraged Thabang Munare to cover it. I mean, in KZN, we have seen these things even in restaurants, where waiters wear Isiphandla, but they are urged to cover it for health reasons or whatever.
Yeah.
I think for me, the crux of the issue is it's not about Isiphandla. It's about what can be deemed as a foreign object in a football match.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying?
I hear you. So there are ways around it, you are saying?
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, I think the team also let Thabang Munare down, because they should have known the rules.
All right.
You know?
All right.
And they should have been proactive, and also possibly encourage Thabang to cover it
All right.
before the match officials did the inspection.
All right, Sandile, thank you for that call. Sandile and Mzimkhulu there weighing in on that debate around the wearing of Isiphandla in the football context.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good morning. Stays heavy on the N4. This is Pretoria's Bakwena Highway, if you like, down into Durbanport Plaza. Something going on there. It's not normally as heavy as it is. That's in your way. N4 coming through from the sort of Rosslyn on-ramp down in towards the plaza on your way towards the N1 Highway. The N1 south around Pretoria from the N4 down through to Garsfontein looking quite slow. A crash on the N14 eastbound at Brockfontein interchange. If you're on your way to Pretoria, heavy backlogs there from the R55 Pretoria West exit side. And the Mike 1 this morning extending queues from Boysons right up to Grayston Drive in the Sandton area. That's a bit of a long haul to get through there. And heavy off for Ekurhuleni this morning. N12 from Benoni through Boksburg. N17 into the roadworks, backing up badly from Brakpan through to Rotherbolt Road. And the M1 north in from Eldos coming off the N12 Potch Highway. Still really big queues up to the Deepcliff interchange territory. Now, if you're driving Durban this morning, M13, Hillcrest through to Kloof, starting to ease up. The M4, Ruthfirst Highway, pretty heavily back, both between them, Umhlanga and Blue Lagoon, north and southbound, very slow going. And Cape Town, the big story there today is the closure of Four-Trekker Road through Kensington. Four-Trekker shut because of protesting between Jake Scovell Drive and 18th Avenue on the Maitland side, and that's causing chaos. The N7, really heavy through that area. Four-Trekker Road, Frans Conradi, Viking Way, running south of Four-Trekker Road. Big delays there through the Pinelands and Epping area. Make sure you've got plenty of time to get through that significant build-up. Rob Byrne, SAFM Traffic.
You are the biggest saver we've ever had.
2,794 Rand a month. It was the easiest switch ever.
What was the real deal they could offer you?
870.
That's amazing. You're always getting something out.
Yeah.
I've been battling to get nice car insurance. Outsurance, I found them. I'm saving a cool $360.
Get the real deal with the real savings.
I made the right move.
Go to outsurance.co.za now for a 10-minute quote that could save you thousands.
Just phone Outsurance, get a quote and see what they can offer you. If you don't save that 321 like I did, you might say get a 500 or $1,000 back. Service and savings, you'll always get something out.
How is it that Outsurance provided the solution for you?
918 Rand is what I'm saving.
Incredible. What brought you and Outsurance together?
718 Rand. I end up saving.
They gave you the real deal.
It literally is the real deal.
Go to outsurance.co.za now for a 10-minute quote that could save you thousands. Licensed insurer and FSP. T's, C's, and information online.
Who's behind the mask? A singing pineapple? A disco dancing dokolosh? It can only mean one thing. It's the Masked Singer US Season 9, the only show where celebrities hide behind wild costumes and even wilder vocals. Is that Beyonce? No. It's your dentist dressed as a giant taco. Unmask the madness, the mystery, and the mayhem. Saturdays at 6:30 p.m. on S3. S3's got the masks, the music, and maybe your favorite celeb in a flamingo suit. Don't miss it.
Call Thulasizwe now, 086 000 2032.
All right, let me play one or two voice notes before I go to a call from Toy in Joburg. Let me play this one that has to do with this roll call of councillors as well as the action plan that the ANC president is talking about and saying that they are going to implement.
Good morning, Thulasizwe. Cyril, what he's going to do, this is the last thing. Where he's supposed to start, he must start from the treasury, because the treasury is giving these councillors a problem. Because the treasury is cutting each and everything. So councillors, their hands are tied. So that's why we've got sewer, electricity, service delivery all over, poor service delivery all over the country. Samson for Floras.
Samson, thank you for that. But the flip side of that is that, of course, in terms of the model as we have it now, is that municipalities are supposed to generate their own revenue, right? Which is where part of the difficulty arises. Yes, there are those grants that will come from national government, various departments for specific projects, but the core of what they do is meant to be coming from their own revenue collected from ratepayers. And in many instances, that's just not working out well. And that's why you've been hearing this conversation amplifying that perhaps we need to relook that model altogether.
Good morning to Thulasizwe. On the municipalities or local government, I think your prof missed a very critical point, the role of SAMU, which is a municipal union, in the mediocrity that is persistent at municipal level. You can't have consequence management when you've got union protectionism happening at that level. Thank you.
All right, that's an interesting point to make about the role of labor in some of what we see at local government level. I imagine that those who are in the labor movement would have something to say in response to that. Toy in Joburg, good morning. The judgment of the Court is still on your mind, the judgment from last week.
Exactly, sir.
Yes.
My position or my observation is the fact that that judgment has the capacity to cause a long-time social problem. Because myself as a foreigner, I notice how proud South Africans are with their culture, tradition, they are proud people. And I look at it from the context of a Chinese man or a Nigerian man or an Indian man assuming to be Mr. Mohale or Mr. Tele or Mr. Buthelezi. You could see the danger that lurk around the corner, because that's going to be an insult, a great insult to the black people. And I hope the people, especially the Supreme Court, should look into any judgment that is likely to foment a trouble, because myself as a foreigner, in the longer run, is going to be affected. People may want to assume South African name for the reason, for economic reason, for some benefit. But in the longer run, it's going to serve like as an insult. Myself, I wouldn't want a Chinese man to bear my surname, Obisheson, on the ground that the Constitutional Court says a Chinese man can assume the name of this thing. So that's just my concern, because if this is not looked into, it could, I'm not supposed to come into this because this seems like a local thing, but I look at it from the angle of me being a foreigner, because I may not assume the name of the surname of my wife, which is Maba. So, but some people will do it for the reason known to them, and that's going to be a very terrible insult to the locals, Black South Africans.
Toy, thank you for that. What an interesting perspective and take there from Toy about this judgment that we've been debating since it came out sometime last week. That brings us to 8 a.m. Let's go straight to Ann Musa with the latest news.
Outsurance will go out of their way to try and save you money on your car insurance. If they can't, ask for 500 Rand. Time to switch and save. Call 08600 60,000 today.
In our top stories, Mbalula speaks on the ANC Service Delivery Action Plan, and police question 2 people in connection with the Kraaifontein shootings. Good morning. ANC Secretary General Fikile Mbalula says the implementation of the Service Delivery Action Plan will be reviewed on a quarterly basis. The plan was adopted at the special ANC NEC meeting at the weekend. Party President Cyril Ramaphosa will introduce it to the party's over 6,000 councillors at the FNB Stadium south of Johannesburg later this morning. The plan seeks to speed up service delivery and ensure local government works better for the people. Mbalula says all councillors are expected to fully implement the plan.
The President will give marching orders to councillors and their role as caucuses, mayoral committees and councillors in its implementation. Measurable, monitored plan after every 3 months. And where there are challenges in different municipalities, will be able to lead. And that we will do it publicly in terms of saying, with the plan we have adopted, we have faced these challenges and these are the improvements we are making going forward. Will indicate interventions by different structures, how everyone will report monthly on the action plan on Monday.
Police are questioning 2 people in connection with shooting incidents at Wallerstein in Kraaifontein in Cape Town this weekend. 3 people were shot and killed, another was wounded, and it also resulted in a woman being raped. Police spokesperson Novella Potelwa says the suspects from Kraaifontein have not yet been charged.
2 men aged 25 and 26 are currently being questioned by detectives in connection with a Kraaifontein double murder, as well as an attempted murder and rape that occurred in Wallerstein early on Sunday morning. It is envisaged that as the investigations into the shooting incidents continue, a breakthrough will occur in due course.
An elephant carer has been gored to death by an elephant at Hoedspruit Elephant Rehabilitation Development in Limpopo. In a statement, management of an elephant orphanage says the elephant named Limpopo unexpectedly gored Ishmael Shambira, who was seated under a tree while 3 others were clearing a tree from the road which had been pushed down by the said elephant. Management says efforts from his colleagues to save him were unsuccessful. Management has sent its condolences to the bereaved family and relatives. The bail application of a traditional leader charged with the 2023 murder of Umgeni Chief Whip Mhlalayenza Ndlovu is expected to continue in the Howick Magistrates Court today. Chief Simphiwe Zuma last week made his first appearance in court for a 3rd separate murder case. The state has handed in an affidavit by the investigating officer that Zuma is linked to bribing a magistrate in a case to get bail. The state also says Zuma was recorded discussing Ndlovu's murder. Zuma has denied any involvement in the Ndlovu murder. US President Donald Trump says Israel needs to be very careful before they attack Qatar again. Earlier, the Qatari Prime Minister Sheikh Al-Thani told the international community to stop using double standards and punish Israel for what he calls its crimes. Trump was speaking to reporters at an airfield in New Jersey.
They have to do something about Hamas, but Qatar has been a great ally to the United States. A lot of people don't know that. so Israel and everybody else, we have to be careful. When we attack people, we have to be careful.
And finally, British actor Owen Cooper has become the youngest ever male Emmy winner at the age of 15. At yesterday's Emmy Television Awards ceremony in LA, Cooper was crowned the Best Supporting Actor for his role in the TV series Adolescence. The huge Netflix success about a teenager accused of murder also led to 2 awards for Stephen Graham as Best Lead Actor in a series and also for writing the show. In his short acceptance speech, Cooper thanked his family and those with whom he had worked.
Standing up here is just, wow, it's just so surreal. Honestly, when I started these drama classes a couple of years back, I didn't expect to be even in the United States, never mind here. But I think tonight proves that if you listen and you focus and you step out your comfort zone, you can achieve anything in life.
Recapping the top story, ANC Secretary-General Fikile Mbalula says the implementation of the Service Delivery Action Plan will be reviewed on a quarterly basis. The plan was adopted at the special ANC NEC meeting at the weekend. For SAFM News, I am Anne Musa.
Outsurance will go out of their way to try and save you money on your car insurance. If they can't, ask for 500 Rand. Visit outsurance.co.za today. You always get something out.
Imagine saving on car insurance. Now, imagine getting 500 Rand or 1,500 Rand if you don't save. That's right. If Outsurance can't beat your car insurance premium, ask them for 500 Rand cash. Make that 1,500 Rand cash. Make that 1,500 Rand cash if you've been claim-free and with the same insurer for 3 years. Savings or cash, you always get something out. Get a quick and easy quote today. Call 08600 60,000 or visit outsurance.co.za. Licensed insurer and FSP. T's, C's and information online.
It's a very good morning to you in your SFM Sports headlines. Soccer to look forward to. Kaizer Chiefs and Sekhukhune United are set for a top-of-the-table Soweto showdown. That's tomorrow. And we also bring you rugby. The Springboks are back on top of the world rankings. Details just before 8:30.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
We started Centurion with major delays up the N14 today. An earlier crash going into Brackfontein interchange, plus some traffic light issues after that at the John Foster exit. It means the N14 Krugersdorp Highway is heavy Pretoria bound. Queues from the R55 Pretoria West exit. Joburg's N1 from Eldos from the Potch Highway up through Deepcliff on your way to Uncle Charlie's, still jam-packed. The Mike 1 this morning, Boyston through to Grayston Drive is heavy off the highway. Just generally busy on all those routes getting into Santon, Rivonia, Ballyclare, William Mandela and Republic Road all very slow. And delays coming off the East Rand, Ekurhuleni side N12, Benoni through Boksburg and the N17 into the roadworks of Boksburg heavy from the Brakpan and Springs area. Durban today, the N2 running north, coming in off the south coast area. Little bit of traffic around Tweeny Hill. Then it gets busy again from the M7 through Westwood Mall. Some delays coming in on the N3 at Pavilion Mall and quite a heavy queue, I'm Schlungerbound on the M4 Blue Lagoon up to Virginia Airport. Cape Town protesting blocking off Trekker Road at Kensington. That's having a major impact. There's all sorts of delays along Jake Scoville Drive, Franz Conradi Drive, a little bit further south on the Viking Way option between Elsie's and Pinelands through Epping. Any route that's open around that busy Trekker Road closure is full of traffic. Marine Drive, Table View through Sunset Beach is heavy, and we're queuing up on the R300 north through Kales River towards Van Riebeeck Road. With your traffic update, I'm Rob Byrne.
The Morning Brief with Thulasizwe Simelane. Weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m. The Morning Brief with Thulasizwe Simelane. Weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m.
9 minutes after 8. Welcome to it, the third hour of the Morning Brief on this Monday. It is absolutely great to be in your company, and I'm truly enjoying the conversations we've been having thus far. Let me reflect one or two messages that have come through. Robert Pele in Germiston on the issue of the wearing of ispandla, that traditional, goat skin wristband that's of cultural and ancestral significance that has come under this spotlight and controversy in the wake of this football player being forced off the pitch in terms of a FIFA rule. Robert Cele says, we black people like to play being victim always. For instance, in security regulations, short hair, no beard, personal hygiene, we follow that, no complaint. So I suppose the point he's making is that with security regulations and other regulations we follow without complaint, but sometimes he says we like to play victim. Then someone else, Mongezi in Klerksdorp, says players need to accept FIFA rules and there should be no issue when the referee asks the player to remove jewelry. If bangles and watches are not allowed, there should be no issue when ispandla is not allowed. Except though, Mongezi, bangles and watches have no religious significance to them, right? Just that the matters of faith, man, are just deeply personal. And I don't know if we can lump them together with jewelry in the way that this rule seeks to do. As I was saying earlier on, and I don't, at the risk of repeating myself, that whole idea of reasonable accommodation, that if this is of such significance to you spiritually, should there be no room for at least a conversation that says, how best can we accommodate it? So some of the suggestions about covering it, for example, is some of what I have heard. And it applies not only to items like ispandla, there are other items of religious expression that we have seen coming under the spotlight in many, many contexts. So I don't know. We can have the conversation and debate that. So I've just been reflecting also, when these things happen, you have a conversation and then you move on from it, but you still reflect on how it played out. The conversation with Khotso earlier on and the name calling that I was saying, it doesn't advance the debate we're trying to have. You can criticize and critique President Cyril Ramaphosa or any leader for that matter. So let me bring in this one. Someone says, I totally agreed with Khotso. He was I suppose this person wanted to say 100% correct of Mr. I am shocked, so-called Ramaphosa of ANC. And I read that out to make the point that, this person does call President Ramaphosa by a certain name and says, Mr. I am shocked. In a way, that's almost like caricature of the person, right? Because it is born out of the experience in the past, the number of times President Ramaphosa has said about an issue playing out in the country, I am shocked. That has become something that people use to caricature him. And I think for me, that draws the line and is slightly different from, denigrating names that don't really advance the debate, don't elevate your argument. I don't know. I stand with that point. Correct me if I'm wrong. Take me on and express how you feel. I just feel that if we start name calling each other, in fact, I've been doing this show for a year now. There's never been a day when someone got on this show and called someone an idiot, stupid, or whatever, and I've let it slide. We just don't do it that way. We are trying to elevate the debate that we are having, being critical and being sharp and robust on a daily basis at the same time. Take a look at this, for example. This person says, President must resign now. That's it, long and short of what this person has had to say. All right, let's keep the conversation live and healthy. The number to dial 086 000 2032. Your WhatsApp voice notes on 0614 104 107. Let's get into the third hour of the morning brief.
Stay on top of all meaningful, top trending stories right here on SAFM. Leading the conversation.
The Spar Baby Proteas will take part in the Netball World Youth Cup 2025 in Gibraltar from the 19th to the 28th of September 2025. These are our rising stars. Hashtag Together We Rise. Brought to you by the Department of Sport, Arts and Culture.
The Morning Brief with Thulasizwe Simelane.
14 minutes after 8, the country's Suicide Awareness Week has been marked by heartbreak in KwaZulu-Natal as 2 high school pupils died by suicide in separate incidents in the province. The tragedies have again brought into focus the urgent need for stronger mental health awareness, support structures, and suicide prevention strategies in schools and homes alike. Let's speak to Casey Chambers, Operations Director at the South African Depression and Anxiety Group. Good morning to you and thank you for your time. Just the coincidence of this tragedy happening during Suicide Awareness Week, not that, there's ever a good time for it to happen, but I suppose it highlights and underscores the nature of the problem we're dealing with, doesn't it?
Absolutely, and good morning. I think also what's really important is these suicides are happening every week in South Africa. If we look at the stats, every single day in South Africa, there are 23 suicides every 24 hours and 460 attempted suicides every single day. So it's tragic to hear, being so close to home, hearing of such young people who felt like the only way to end their problems would be to end their life. But these suicides, sadly, are happening every week, every day, across the country, of all age groups. And that's why it's so important not for us just to raise awareness around suicide prevention during World Suicide Prevention Day, but every week in the year.
Just talk to me about the dimensions of the problem then as they manifest among the youth, because, we use the example of these 2 young people in KZN. It seems that the problem is particularly pronounced within that demographic.
It is. So our most at-risk age group for suicide in South Africa is our teenagers or adolescents. They are dealing with a lot more problems. They lack coping skills or support systems. And they're often really spontaneous in making that decision, right? It's a culmination or a combination of various different problems happening at once where they feel so overwhelmed that their thought is, I can't do this anymore, I can't cope, and they want to end their life. And this is why it's so significant for us to talk about teen suicide and teen depression, because we often think, especially as adults, that what could teenagers possibly be depressed about? What kind of problems could possibly lead them to think of suicide? But actually, they're dealing with a huge burden of issues and problems that are often a contributing factor to what we're seeing in society.
So there's a point you are making as SADC, Casey, that's about almost wall-to-wall societal coverage of this issue from the school to the home. Talk to me a bit more about that point, that that would include early warning signs being detected.
Over 80% of people who die by suicide give us some kind of warning sign, some kind of symptom, some kind of problems that they're going through. And this is why it's so crucial that you don't have to be a therapist to pick up the warning signs. You can be a parent, a teacher, a neighbor, a granny, a cousin, an auntie, even the church leader. We need to empower as many people in our village as possible so that if anyone can pick up those warning signs, we can start a conversation. So often we are scared to talk about heavy things with our children, with our teenagers, and we think that if we talk about it, we're going to plant the seed. Or maybe, my child could never be depressed. They'll never think of that. But I think it's a reality in South Africa that we have to start that conversation early. We have to speak to our teenagers and our children about feeling different emotions, dealing with different problems, and checking in. All too often when we're speaking to educators or parents, we're urging them, start a conversation, check in today. Don't have a sit-down serious meeting, but normalize checking in with our children. Checking in, what kind of problems are they dealing with that week or that day? What is playing on their mind? What are they thinking about late at night? These kinds of check-ins could literally save a life. And I think all too often as adults and parents, we're too scared to plant that seed or to start that conversation. But we actually know that from research around the world, talking about suicide actually prevents suicide. So starting a conversation, checking in with your child could literally save their life.
Are there pockets of best practice that we are starting to see where conversations about mental health and depression and, suicide ideation and the likes are being discussed openly in schools, perhaps in the professional environment? Are we seeing any glimmers of hope and pockets of best practice?
We definitely are, and I think that's why, as SADAG being around for 30 years, we're definitely seeing that change. And, hearing these tragic stories of lives lost help us to motivate us to do even more. We've seen a significant best practice happening in Gauteng with the Gauteng Department of Education and Matthew Goniwe School of Leadership and Governance, who have invested in an outreach program where we've been just this year over 70 schools in Gauteng speaking to learners class by class, providing counseling, educating our teachers and learner support agents so that they're equipped on how to pick up those signs and symptoms and basic counseling skills. And we've seen a huge difference, a huge impact with learners seeking help sooner, teachers identifying signs and symptoms, and interventions that can be put in place to help save a life. And we're seeing that change happening in the Western Cape, but more needs to be done. We need to roll this out in every province, even now more significantly in KZN. And I think it's also empowering parents and communities on how to have this conversation. As you don't always have to attend a workshop or at a school, but you can actually learn this information online. You can read up and become empowered and start that conversation.
Just lastly, Casey, talk to me about the professions that expose, practitioners to high levels of trauma. The SAPS comes to mind. Just last week, we were talking about the call by the National Police Commissioner for officers to avail themselves of the services that are available for them to deal with mental health and issues of depression and the likes, and just to speak out. Is enough being done in those professions such as the SAPS?
I think when we look at these kinds of issues, there's two things at play there. We're talking about men and mental health. And I think we have a lot to do in that space in South Africa. Men are brought up to be tough, to not talk about their problems. Cowboys don't cry. And then we've got frontline staff like police who are working in incredibly traumatic situations every day. And we undervalue the importance of trauma debriefing and mental health support. And I think there's a lot still to be done in that sector to normalize getting trauma debriefing, normalize getting help and checking in with colleagues, and almost making it mandatory to get mental health help, especially because of the cases that they're dealing with. We also know that mental health does not discriminate. So depression, trauma can affect any age, any sector, any race, any gender, any background. And it's normally a combination of issues. And I think we're having to normalize getting them help and sharing those resources. There are resources available within SAPS. They have to be more easily accessible, more advertised, and actually more encouraging so that they can actually feel like it's a safe space. There's often the stigma that if I seek help within the workplace, it's going to be put on record. My boss is going to find out that I've spoken to a counselor or gotten help. I'm not going to get that promotion. We have to debunk those myths to encourage more people to seek help before it's too late, before it escalates to a problem like what we saw last week. And I think it just shows us again that mental health impacts so many different sectors within South Africa, whether it be frontline police officers, whether it be in the healthcare sector, whether it be in schools. We as a country have to be doing more to prioritize mental health.
All right, thank you for that. That's Casey Chambers, who is Operations Director at the South African Depression and Anxiety Group, SADC.
If you think you cannot afford a lawyer, think again. Clientele Legal has made professional legal services affordable for you. Whether it's a civil, criminal, or labor-related matter, we have a nationwide panel of attorneys standing by to assist you. SMS SAFM to 32195. That's SAFM to 32195 and we'll call you back. Clientele General is a licensed non-life insurer and an authorized FSP. Standard rates and terms and conditions apply.
September is Deaf Awareness Month, a time to celebrate the deaf community, promote inclusion, empowerment, and break communication barriers. Let's listen with our hearts and not our ears. Learn and embrace a South African Sign Language. Join us throughout September for commemoration events, activities that educate, connect, and inspire. Visit our website, foundationnima.org, for more information. This is an SABC-supported initiative.
The SABC is proud to partner with Africa's biggest marketing conference, the Nedbank IMC. One day, 25 top speakers, including 6 global keynotes. The theme this year is Marketing is Business, and anyone in the business of communication should be there. The conference is taking place on the 18th of September in person in Johannesburg or online. Book now at imcconference.com. Marketing is Business.
Call Thulasizwe now, 086 000 2032.
All right, let me go straight to your calls. I want to take a call from Matlakala in Davidton. Good morning to you, Matlakala.
Morning, Thulasizwe. How are you?
Very well. Please go ahead.
Yeah, man. I just wanna, call out to Khoto, man. What he's doing is actually unacceptable, Thulasizwe. No matter how much differences you can have with a person, you cannot insult them.
Yeah.
Especially someone like Ramaphosa in his position, also based on age. It's like insulting your own parents. You see, so I so wish our country can implement laws like other countries where if you insult a president, you must be arrested.
I don't agree with you there.
No, I do.
I was agreeing with you until that point.
Remember, we are abusing that freedom of speech or freedom of expression. We are abusing it.
So let me tell you, Matlakal, the president does have remedies, as does every other person, if they feel that the insult actually, injured their personality and defamation and the like. So he's not without remedies. I just don't agree with the arrest part and detention. That's not the remedy for speech.
But remember, because of some of the rights that we have in South Africa, our country is a mess. Because some of those rights, I know. Imagine if the president should sue anyone who is insulting him, or let me take Zuma for example. If he had to sue anyone who is insulting him, you see, it means he will spend his days in court, not saving the nation.
I hear what you're saying. I hear the point. I take your point. Thank you for that, Matlakala, out in Davidton. Let me quickly take a call from Peggy in Mpumalanga, in Bombela. Good morning to you, Peggy.
My brother, a very good morning to you. I just want to weigh in on the Isipandla issue of Thabang Munari. Fortunately enough, Thulas, I'm doing my FIFA license course.
Yes.
And there is the so-called laws of the game. If you can just look at Law 4 that speaks about the players' equipment. It is very explicitly clear, the law is very clear that number one, a player cannot wear any bracelet or any traditional bracelet. And the referee has got a duty to inspect the player before the player entering the field. In the event that the referee finds that a player is wearing one of such, he must order the player to remove it. And if the player does not want to, then the referee must caution and remove the player from the field of play. So that is the law. It is enacted. Just read Rule 4, and you'll see it outlines all the equipment that players can wear, and even the face mask, that how should they be, and so on, which one are permitted and which one are not permitted.
Oh yeah, there's also that. I've seen players with the mask, and I suppose many of them, it's medically prescribed, right?
Yes, some of them are medically prescribed, or some of them, they've got certain conditions, like as you say. But then it is very important to us that when one makes a particular argument, you must first look at the laws. What does the law say? So the laws of the game are very clean and clear, and should anyone go through the laws of the game, and maybe lastly, one has got to look at the laws of the game 2025-2026 edition, because every year FIFA reviews the laws.
Right.
I thank you, Thulas.
Peggy, thank you for that. That's Peggy out in Bombela, sharing some of the insights from some of the work that he does.
This is SAFM Sport with Zai Khan.
Good morning. We'll start with soccer. There's a high-stakes clash in the Betway Premiership tomorrow as Kaizer Chiefs are hosting Sekhukhune United at FNB Stadium. Both teams level on 13 points after 5 matches, with Sekhukhune leading on goal difference and boasting the league's most goals so far. Chiefs, meanwhile, remain unbeaten at home, but they have struggled to score, managing just 5 goals this season. Kick-off at 7:30 tomorrow night. In the meantime, Mamelodi Sundowns coach Miguel Cardoso says Kholiso Mudau will soon rejoin the matchday squad after resolving disputes with the club. The Bafana defender has been absent from training since the start of the season, following frustrations over Sundowns' reluctance to sanction a move abroad. Cardoso says he's taking the same approach with MLS loanee Katlego Siki in Shabaleng.
The same with Siki. I cannot put him inside the pitch when he's not able to perform, because then the fans will say, oh, it's this guy we brought in. No, when he can show the level that he has, we're going to give him the opportunity. And that is also man management from my part, that I need to have it. And also it's important that people understand that. It's being a coach, it's also being a man manager. And I need to make that so that people have the right understanding of the things.
Cricket, the third and final T20 international between England and the Proteas at Trent Bridge in Nottingham, abandoned without a ball bowled. Steady rain was forecast for much of the day, and hopes of a rain-shortened game were curtailed just less than 90 minutes after the scheduled start, with the series shared 1-1. Now, the Proteas women coach Mandla Mashimbi has highlighted the crucial role their tour of Pakistan will play in their preparations for the ICC Women's World Cup.
All I can say is that I think the time of talking is out the window now. We're done with the talking part of things. I think it's action time now. In terms of nerves, they'll always be there. But nerves are not always negative. There's also positive nerves, because it also shows that you actually care about what's about to unfold.
Swing back for more sport around 12:30 with John Hedeka. I'm Zai Khan.
Good morning, I'm Anne Musa. In the headlines, ANC Secretary General Fikile Mbalula says the implementation of the Service Delivery Action Plan will be reviewed on a quarterly basis. The plan was adopted at the special ANC-NEC meeting at the weekend. The bail application of a traditional leader charged with the 2023 murder of Umgeni Chief Whip Nhlalaiyenza Ndlovu is expected to continue in the Howick Magistrates Court today. And the sister of the North Korean leader Kim Jong-un has condemned joint military exercises that South Korea, the US and Japan are due to begin today. I'll have details on these and other stories at 9.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
We've been telling you about some delays coming off Ekurhuleni this morning in towards Joburg. It's still really heavy and a lot heavier than you might be expecting. It's the roadworks, N17 westbound at Rondebolt Road, one lane open and big sort of Monday volleys pushing a queue right back to Carnival City. It's really quite a big queue to work through there that you might not be surprising. Crash on Joburg's Mike 1 North at Grayston Drive, getting up from Parktown through Houghton and Melrose on your way to Santon. Very slow. N1 North into Deepcliff for a connection to Uncle Charlie, starting to ease. N14 still really jam-packed between the R55 Pretoria West exit and Brockfontein interchange. You're on that highway towards Pretoria, coming out through Centurion. It is very slow. And a breakdown, M1 South at Garsfontein, keeping traffic heavy back as far as the N4 highway. Durban, some queues inbound today from Paradise Valley, making your way through Pavilion Mall up towards Spaghetti Junction. That's very slow, Durban bound. Don't forget, that section closed overnight tomorrow from 8 p.m. Tuesday until 4 a.m. Wednesday. A full closure in and out of Durban at the same time between Spaghetti and Pavilion Mall as well. And then just a bit of traffic coming down the N2 through Umhlanga towards Kwamashu. That's an unusual backlog into the roadworks for this time of day. And Cape Town, very heavy around the Epping Goodwood Elsie's River area. The closure of Voortrekker Road still in place between Jakes Kerville Drive and 18th Avenue. So routes like Voortrekker, the N7, Frans Conradi, and coming in from sort of Elsie's on Viking Way, down through to Jakes Kerville and on your way very slow through Epping down towards Pinelands. Motorists moving slowly on routes north and south of that closure of Voortrekker Road. Also, collision N2 inbound at Lisbeth Parkway. Delays coming through from the airport. With your traffic update, I'm Rob Byrne.
The business update on SAFM.
Let's say good morning once again to Ndawling Lechela. You know, Ndawling, one day I'll be able to talk about ratings agencies without a frame of reference from the past, how we used to fret about sub-investment, grading. One day I'll get there. I'm not there yet.
We're not there yet.
So as you told me about Fitch holding South Africa's rating steady, I had that frame of reference in mind. Locate it for us. What's this now that they're talking about holding it steady, and how does it fit in with our rating?
So Fitch has affirmed our credit rating at BB minus with a stable outlook. So everything remains unchanged. The agency pointed to government's efforts to maintain stability and implement reforms, but said the country still faces significant challenges, including high debt levels and structural economic weaknesses. According to Fitch, South Africa's real GDP growth is expected to remain downbeat, reaching only 1.2% annually between this year and 2027. The high debt burden, as mentioned, remains a major concern. Fitch said that while debt growth has slowed, the government's use of cash reserves and modest spending cuts won't be enough to stop the debt from rising, considering the interest rates we are dealing with there. Despite these challenges, Fitch noted that government has made progress in implementing reforms under Operation Vulindlela, particularly in electricity, logistics, water, and digitalization. However, Fitch believes these reforms won't have a big impact on long-term growth potential, as deeply structural factors such as increased unemployment and low investment continue to drag on growth.
So let's talk mining. Tell me about the Platinum Council and their expectations for PGM prices.
So the council again reaffirming its optimism when it comes to PGMs, saying that platinum in particular, the market dynamics there remain attractive for investment, driven by a market deficit that is expected this year. And this marks the third consecutive year of supply shortfall, potentially pushing prices higher. Now, global mining supply is forecasted to decline 6% this year. The metal's strategic importance in hybrid vehicles, renewable energy, and military technology, combined with its role as a store of value, contributes to its appeal. Demand has been resilient, with only a 3% forecast decline in vehicle demand due to tariff-related uncertainty. The council's research director, Edward Stirk, suggests higher platinum prices may be necessary to bring more metal out of above-ground stocks, and local PGM miners are poised to benefit, with some already doubling in value this year due to the rising prices we've seen over the past 6-7 months.
Yeah, I realize, Ntauling, PGM, you and I should check each other. Platinum Group Metals, right?
Yes.
Just for everyone to always be on board. The number of times I've heard an acronym and I said, what on earth are they talking about?
Yeah.
Lastly, Ntauling, what kind of a trading day can we expect on this Monday?
So markets likely to start the week in positive territory, but gains could be kept just following what's been happening on the international front. Locally, a big week with the inflation print due and the SOB's monetary policy meeting later this week. So there could be a wait-and-see approach ahead of the print and the SOB's meeting. On the currency front, the rand retracing some gains, but still fairly strong at 17.39 to the greenback. Green screens all round, with oil also in positive territory, trading close to $67 per barrel. And then coming back to equities, stocks in the US are flat. Traders sitting on their hands ahead of the Fed's monetary policy meeting. And then investors in Asia also eyeing that meeting out in the US while awaiting the outcome of the trade talks between China and the US. Amidst it, all those stocks are mainly in the green today.
All right, darling. Hari it's a happy kausan.
Yes, we're celebrating Heritage Day. I love it.
Yeah, I've got multiple talents, and speak all sorts of languages. I'll surprise you. That's Ntauling Lichela. She's kept you updated on business, economics, and the markets throughout the 3 hours.
If you think you cannot afford a lawyer, Think again. Clientele Legal has made professional legal services affordable for you. Whether it's a civil, criminal, or labor-related matter, we have a nationwide panel of attorneys standing by to assist you. SMS SAFM to 32195. That's SAFM to 32195 and we'll call you back. Clientele General is a licensed non-life insurer and an authorized FSP. Standard rates and terms and conditions apply.
Zinzi, the Gen Z. Word on the street is you sold your car.
Yes, and you know I needed a glow up. Hashtag no hustle, no hassle.
So wait. The influencer got influenced by We Buy Cars.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. And they came to me. They checked the car, they gave me an offer. Oh, and they paid me immediately. Easier than an Insta Live, without the weird DMs at 2 a.m.
I didn't understand half of the things you just said, but hey, We Buy Cars. Geared for the glow up, geared for you.
The SABC is proud to partner with Africa's biggest marketing conference, the Nedbank IMC. One day, 25 top speakers, including 6 global keynotes. The theme this year is Marketing is Business, and anyone in the business of communication should be there. The conference is taking place on the 18th of September in person in Johannesburg or online. Book now at imcconference.com. Marketing is business.
Conversations that you connect with and react to. SAFM.
20 minutes to 9. Let's turn to an issue to do with the fight against crime. In an era of increasingly complex criminal threats, collaboration between public and private sectors in law enforcement has become not only valuable but essential. This principle was the focus of the Civilian Crime Intelligence Network CCIN Summit, which was held this past weekend at Capital Air's hangar in Germiston. The event brought together top leadership from the country's police services, municipal law enforcement, private security firms, and community policing structures. Let's speak to Chad Thomas, crime expert and director of IRS investigations. Good morning to you, Chad, and thank you for your time. Collaboration between the public and the private sector. We have a significant private sector law enforcement and crime prevention, let me call it crime prevention infrastructure in the country. Is that being tapped into enough, and to what extent did that conversation come up at the summit?
A very good morning to you and a very good morning to the listeners. Yes, collaboration in the fight against crime has become essential in South Africa, and we are seeing the police accepting the role that is played by the private sector, both from an intelligence perspective as well as in terms of the creation of force multipliers. We've seen it through an initiative called the E2 Project by Business Against Crime South Africa, and then we've seen it on a localized level where organizations such as the Civilian Crime Intelligence Network have created these joint task teams, these shared control centers, so that there are more boots on the ground in support of SAPS to be able to assist not only in crime prevention, also the reaction to crime, and more importantly, to assist SAPS in disrupting and dismantling syndicates that are operating in all sectors, including mining, kidnapping, CIT heists, etc.
The cynical view might say, Chad, that doing that entails a subtle admission that, the public sector government cannot deal with issues of crime and basically, in a way, parceling off a portion of the work that they have to do. That's the cynical view. The alternative says, actually, such is the complexity of the problem we are dealing with, such that it requires all hands on deck. What arguments are in favor of either view for you?
The reality is that South Africa sits as one of the most violent nations in the world. Contact violent crime in South Africa, whether it's GBVF, whether it's murder, whether it's the crimes of ATM bombing, CIT heist, kidnap for ransom, murder for hire, has unfortunately been on the increase over the years. The South African Police Service itself was decimated for the past 25 years because of infighting, factionalism, which created a fractured leadership. They are rebuilding. We're seeing commissions of inquiry being established. We're seeing ad hoc committees in Parliament being convened. And this is being done simply because we know there's a problem within our policing structures. That doesn't mean the police have completely failed. The police have tried their best with limited resources and a lot of political interference to try adhere to the constitutional mandate of serving the South African populace. The problem is that they've been undermined from the very, very top. So they do at this point in time need the assistance. But let's see what happens with the commissions of inquiry. Let's see what happens with the ad hoc committees. And let's see if we can rebuild our policing structures that they can fulfill their constitutional mandate. Because as it stands right now, they do need the assistance from the private sector, and they are admitting as much.
Is there a need for a formalization of those partnerships, Chad, such that, for instance, issues such as command and control also are integrated into that, as opposed to, occasionally when we're doing a patrol as SAPS, then we will rope in the local, patrol unit of the local security company, but something that is a bit more structured, such that even in terms of deployment, the SAPS would know that if there's an issue to respond to, they can quickly say, let's coordinate which vehicle is in which sector and is able to respond rapidly.
Well, you've hit the nail on the head. It's having this opportunity to make use of trained personnel in different areas to supplement, not replace, the police in their endeavors to fight crime. One must understand there's also experts within the private sector that can assist the police where necessary. And it has been formalized. You have BAXA, Business Against Crime South Africa, that have formalized the E2, which is Eyes and Ears project, together with the police, and they've set up joint operational commands. The same with the CIT industry through an organization called the Cash in Transit Association of South Africa. Other organizations have also been established. South African Insurance Crime Bureau, they've assisted with these murders that have been taking place in the long-term insurance space. They've been assisting with syndicates operating in the theft of motor vehicles taken across the border. So there's a lot of value that comes from the private sector to help supplement the resources that the police are currently lacking. But it's all police-led. None of this is private sector-led. It can only be driven by the police, and the police are driving it, and they are driving it successfully. Unfortunately, when you've got 25 years of damage that's been done to the service, it's going to take almost as long to clean the service. Hopefully it will be a shorter time, but it's going to take time. There's no short-term silver bullet here. We're going to see in the medium to long-term changes taking place within the police. But as it stands right now, they need the assistance.
All right, Chad, thank you for your time this morning. Chad Thomas is a crime expert as well as the director of IRS investigations.
If you think you cannot afford a lawyer, think again. Clientele Legal has made professional legal services affordable for you. Whether it's a civil, criminal, or labor-related matter, we have a nationwide panel of attorneys standing by to assist you. SMS SAFM to 32195. That's SAFM to 32195 and we'll call you back. Clientele General is a licensed non-life insurer and an authorized FSP. Standard rates and terms and conditions apply.
We've upgraded. Our new GIS-linked national address database lets us connect with you better than ever before. By visualizing licensed and unlicensed households nationwide, we can ensure timely communication. Our payment reminders are a crucial tool to help you stay compliant and avoid penalties, empowering you to take proactive steps. Efficient electronic communication helps us collect fees seamlessly, bolstering the SABC's mandate in line with Section 27 of the Broadcasting Act. TV licenses. Pay yours. Make a difference.
Call Thulasizwe now. 086 000 2032.
Right, let me go straight to your voice notes now. This person wanting to reflect on the African National Congress.
Good morning, Thulasizwe. You know, most of us have come to the conclusion long ago that the ANC is a pathetic, incompetent, and totally useless organization. After 30 years of governance, destroying most of the state entities, looting, corruption, you name it, they now find it important to instruct councillors on what their duties should be. For goodness sake, how can that happen? Totally disgusting. Shame on you, all of you who have kept him in power for such a long time. Mike and Hillcrest, KZN.
Mike, thank you for that. That's Mike there weighing in as the gathering of the ANC's councillors. They're calling it a national roll call. You all come together in one roof, and that's taking place here in Johannesburg today. And then they're saying they will come out with an action plan, right? So they will all have to account for what they've been doing, the extent to which they've succeeded and failed. This follows, of course, the rather stern words of the ANC president saying that some of the councillors are, quote-unquote, absent without leave in the context of community problems.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Slow getting into Santon in Joburg today. Just coming up that Mike 1, an earlier crash at Grayston Drive. He's just got the pressure on back to Houghton Estate territory. The other big queue today was the N1 coming in from the south from Devland and Eldorado Park. That route is busy, but the big queue is sort of eased up. You will hit some traffic just as you approach that Deep Cliff interchange and move off the N1 through it onto the N12 down to Uncle Charlie's territory. Also, this coming up into Santon as well, Rivonia Road near Hill Road. Crash at Morningside, so Rivonia Road and South Road coming across into Rivonia, both backlogging. The N17, Brackpan through to Boksburg, still heavy into the roadwork section. The N14, the Krugersdorp Highway, still queuing up to Bruckfontein interchange as well. If you're on your way to Pretoria, that's a very unusual queue for this time of day. Durban, the N2 South, we reported some hold-ups moving through Umhlanga towards Kwamashu. That is a crash. So there's a crash on the southbound side through the roadworks, and separately some delays between Kwamashu and Gateway routing north. If you're on your way to the airport, just be mindful of that. Pietermaritzburg, Ashburton, Camperdown looking okay. And better news now from Cape Town. This will be just starting to ease up through Goodwood. Voortrekker Road has been reopened. Voortrekker Road was closed at Kensington earlier this morning due to protesting. That caused a major snarl up through Goodwood, Epping. There's still a lot of congestion in that area, but some of it will now filter through on Voortrekker Road. Viking Way coming in off Avonwood from sort of LC's down through Jace Kerville on your way to Jan Smuts Pinelands direction, very heavy. That's largely a result of the earlier closure of Voortrekker. And the N2 inbound has the broken down vehicle at Hospital Bend. That traffic stays busy coming in from as far back as Langa. With your traffic updates, I'm Rob Byrne.
Call Thulasizwe now, 086 000 2032.
Yeah, so the issue of Thabang Monare, the player who was the Sekhukhune midfielder who was forced off the field during a Betway Premiership match for wearing the traditional, goat skin wristband linked to ancestral traditions and connections, that seems to be dominating much of the conversation. So let me play one or two voice notes and then we take the conversation from there.
Good morning, Thulas and SAFM listeners. Thulas, I think that does not only apply in soccer or other things, because in my family it also applies. I remember when my sister was sick, I was still very young at that age. They went and see a traditional healer. He asked my family to slaughter a goat and put that isipandla to my sister's arm. My father was not happy. I think he took it off after 3 days, and so we don't wear that.
Good morning, Thulasizwe. It's Celo here in KZN. Thulasizwe, we have representatives, the likes of Dennis Jordan and everyone else in those echelons. What role are they playing in making sure that our culture is incorporated in the rules that FIFA is making? What is the role of SAFA in these rules? Because they must represent us and take into consideration our cultures. Thank you.
Good point. Good point. Thank you for that. And I suppose, that's actually a really good point. Not just to have an exceptionalism about South African cultures and customs, but to what extent are various representatives in these structures that make these rules insisting that where there can be, no removal of the rule or, doing away with the rule, how does it accommodate religious and cultural practice without being disruptive, without defeating the whole purpose of what the rule is? Thank you for that. It's actually a very good point.
Good morning, Thulas. Sarata from Limpopo. Thulas, India is India. Cricket is cricket. Soccer is soccer. athletics.
Yes.
Every organization or institution has got its own rules, and when you join voluntarily. If they say these are our rules, you can't say, but my tradition does not allow that. Then leave it. Thank you.
Sure, I don't know. Hey, I don't know. Yeah, I'll take the point that you're making, and I'll take it, but I don't know. I'm not convinced. I think there must be room for you to continue to hold dear those beliefs that you hold dear. In fact, now that I think of it, there was a judgment out of the Concord that said people should not be put to the pain of choosing between their religious adherence and fidelity to professional norms and standards. Can't remember. It must be possible to navigate. I know it's delicate, but I think when we say to people, take it or leave it on issues of faith, I don't know if I'm on board with that argument. Let me go to Nyate Mnyama, Soweto. Good morning to you. Nyate Mnyama. Baba.
Njani baba?
Ngiyaphila kunjani baba? Please go ahead.
Ngicela ukudlulisa okokuqala lensizwe ebikhuluma lana ngopresident. I'm really disappointed with the way he really spoke. You cannot call anyone stupid.
Yeah.
Then I want to go to, sorry, it's my first time speaking to you.
Welcome. Ubulindeni baba. Besilinde wena. Sesiphelele ke manje.
Hayi siphelele kade ngakulalela from
usasengayo. Please go ahead.
But let me just go through with my point. I want to address the issue of e-hailing. I'm also on e-hailing for the past 9 years. My problem is that with the regulations, we don't have a problem with regulations. But the thing is, the government wants us to work in the back way, like where the taxis are working. When they give us jurisdiction, what is going to happen is, when me, as I live in Soweto, I see someone from Pretoria, we're starting having our own tax patrols. People will be blocking each other from, you are from Pretoria, therefore you're not supposed to be in Soweto, therefore supposed not to be in Joburg. What we were asking was for the government to regulate us so that we can be recognized, not the way they are trying to punish us. We are already having a problem with people fighting us day and night. Now we'll be branded. I'm now exposed to crime. The riders know an e-hailing card. If they follow the government, the e-hailing, the structures, the riders already have the way of identifying the cars. But this is exposing us to the criminals that we are already exposed to. So now being branded, I can't have freedom. Even when I'm not at work, I will find myself in Eguruleni from Soweto. The guys, they want, once they see me, they see, oh, he's at work.
Yeah.
Because of the branding. So if they want to regulate us, maybe they can say, I can work the whole of Gauteng.
Yeah.
When I'm in Mpumalanga, then I cannot work. But if it's only a duration of West Rand, East Rand, CBD, for us is not working.
Sure, interesting. Thank you for that, Nyate Mnyama out in Soweto, making the point that perhaps unwittingly some rivalries may be stoked within the e-hailing sector itself based on some of these new regulations. Let me go back to the voice notes. Someone wants to talk about Phala Phala. I see that the case is back in court. Is it today? I think it's today.
Thulas, good morning. This Phala Phala theft case is going to be an interesting case, and it's a national interest case, because we would like to know how the courts deals with money that has been stolen. Question is, can you steal money that is illegal? The way I understand it, that money has not been legalized in terms of all the Reserve Bank protocols, etc., etc.
Yeah.
So are you guys going to stream this thing on YouTube like all the other Zuma cases?
That would be nice, wouldn't it? I don't know what the arrangements are in terms of the directives from the court, access. You remember the courts also, but the default position, I must just say that out and be clear. The default position in many of the courts is that they grant access to media, full access. You know, we've moved very far from the days when it became like it would be a whole week of argument why a camera should be inside court. I think that's progress. But I don't know whether there's been an application brought by the media to beam those proceedings live. I think it would be interesting if that is the case, and then let's see if that is granted. But I agree with you. It is an issue of national importance and significance, and definitely deserves all the attention.
The damage you are saying. Thulasizwe Simelane here in Mthatha. I think Thulasizwe, you are being also party to what this guy is saying, because he's repeatedly saying President Ramaphosa is stupid and you don't put him down. I don't know this. Sure.
Yalezo, thank you for that. Well, you heard what I was trying to do. When he would make his point about the critique of the president, I would say to him, you've made that point, build on that and carry on. Go for him, tackle him, but he just wouldn't move past my difficulty with the name calling. And I think under the circumstances, that for me was the best I could do in that moment.
This Khoto guy. No. Thulasizwe, you are supposed to drop the call. If he calls the president stupid and you try to put him that you don't have to call the president stupid, and then he still call the president stupid, that Khoto doesn't have a respect to himself, even to his family. I think he can even call his father stupid. Good morning. This is Akimatebolo.
Yeah, thank you for that. Well, my attempt is, let's try and be constructive. Let's try and point out to each other that we can engage better. We can elevate the level of debate. In fact, I do want Khoto to call again. He's a regular caller on this show. I will gladly engage him, and including on issues to do with the president, including where he wants to criticize the president. But, within the rules that you and I have agreed, we have a compact between us about how we engage one another. That's it. That's our edition, the Monday edition of the Morning Brief. Stand by, more quality news, current affairs and talk programming coming up, starting with The Talking Point with Kethi Mohlahlana after the news. I'm Thulasizwe Simelane. You've been briefed.
In our top stories, ANC to review progress on its service delivery plan and more arrests in Dawn Park cash-in-transit robbery. Good morning. ANC Secretary-General Fikile Mbalula says the implementation of the Service Delivery Action Plan will be reviewed on a quarterly basis. The plan was adopted at the special ANC-NEC meeting at the weekend. Party President Cyril Ramaphosa will introduce it to the party's over 6,000 councillors at the FNB Stadium south of Johannesburg later this morning. The plan seeks to speed up service delivery and ensure local government works better for the people. Mbalula says all councillors are expected to fully implement the plan.
The President will give marching orders to councillors and their role as caucuses, mayoral committees and councillors in its implementation. Measurable, monitored plan after every 3 months. And where there are challenges in different municipalities, will be able to lead. And that we will do it publicly in terms of saying, with the plan we have adopted, we have faced these challenges and these are the improvements we are making going forward. Will indicate interventions by different structures, how everyone will report monthly on the action plan on Monday.
3 more suspects have been arrested in connection with the cash-in-transit robbery at Dawn Park in Ekurhuleni earlier this month. This brings to 5 the number of suspects arrested for the cash heist. The trio will appear in different courts this morning. 2 bystanders were shot and killed during a shootout between police and a group of 8 robbers during the cash heist. Hawk spokesperson Katlego Mugale.
3 suspects are making their first appearance in the Pretoria North and the Germiston Magistrates Court, respectively, following the arrest on the 11th of September 2025. Khomotso Zita, who is also involved in the Dawn Park incident, was granted bail of 10,000